Muy feliz lunes a todos ustedes. Ya por fin, ya no hay excusas, ya nos tenemos que poner a trabajar todos, ya es el primer lunes oficial de todo el año, ya tienes que ponerte a dieta, tienes que hacer todas las cosas que prometiste ibas a hacer para ser la mejor versión de ti, incluyéndome a mí, por supuesto, que parezco cerdo, pero eso simplemente ha sido por las vacaciones, ha estado delicioso, no les voy a decir que no. Hay muchas cosas cambiando en este mundo y les quiero preguntar, ¿ustedes creen que estos cambios que nos prometen van a pasar de la noche a la mañana, que va a haber un anuncio un día? Y, por ejemplo, les voy a dar el ejemplo de las criptomonedas digitales, ¿no? De la CBDC, de que nos van a decir, ok, a partir de hoy, las CBDCs es lo único que vamos a usar. ¿Ustedes creen que así se ve eso? Les quiero solamente hacer esa pregunta rápido. Déjenme en los comentarios de abajo. Y ahora les voy a decir esto. No, estos cambios no pasan de la noche a la mañana. Todo esto está pasando enfrente de nuestros ojos, pero solamente porque no ha completamente ocurrido y no ha terminado el proceso de ese cambio, no, por alguna razón ignoramos todas estas cosas. Les voy a dar un ejemplo muy estúpido. Estamos de acuerdo que están intentando desaparecer el cash, el dinero en efectivo, para irnos simplemente a métodos digitales como tarjeta de crédito, Apple Pay, etcétera, ¿sí o no? ¿Se acabó ya esto? ¿Ya no aceptan cash en ningún lado? No, lo están limitando muchísimo, pero todavía tenemos cash todos nosotros, ¿no? O sea, todavía hay billetes en todos lados y los seguimos usando. Y yo creo que es un poco el tipo de vida la que estamos, es un poco de nuestro mundo en este momento, esa metáfora, si le podemos decir así, ese ejemplo que les estoy dando. Estamos viendo al mundo cambiar, cabrón. Este fin de semana fue una locura. Uno, Justin Trudeau en Canadá, el primer ministro de Canadá, va a renunciar. Lo anunció ayer en la noche y ahora hoy en la mañana dijo que va a tener una conferencia de prensa no sé cuándo. Esto es una locura. No, y si no estamos poniendo atención, tenemos que verlo. Y también vean del otro lado a Elon Musk, que está atacando al gobierno británico para que tenga nuevas reelecciones, porque está diciendo que hay un grupo de abusadores de menores, etcétera, en el gobierno y que lo está tapando todo. Entonces, estamos viendo a la gente en el Reino Unido, estamos viendo en Canadá también este cambio. ¿Y este cambio en Canadá por qué? Que Justin Trudeau se dio cuenta de la nada. Oh, es que saben qué, si estoy haciendo un pésimo trabajo. ¿Qué hizo cambiar ese tío de opinión? ¿Qué es lo que lo hizo entrar en razón, si lo queremos ver así, no? Se me hace muy extraño que estemos viendo estas cosas. Tenemos eso, tenemos todo lo que ocurrió con la historia. Ahora, esto es algo muy interesante para mí, porque esto es algo que yo les había comentado antes, que ahora se está volviendo un poco obvio enfrente de los ojos de todos, que es lo que me gusta, porque cuando primero lo digo que sueno como loco, no me divierto tanto diciéndolo, más que cuando la gente lo empieza a cachar. Porque es muy no solo por la reacción, pero siento que suena demasiado fuera de, es como de, ok, te creí todo menos esto, y después llega eso, ¿no? Y pierdes un poco a la gente en ese tipo de historias. Pero lo estamos viviendo. Les había dicho que esta historia de que los medios tradicionales perdieron, que nadie confía en ellos, que ellos mismos están pasando esa narrativa, es que ya nadie confía en nosotros, ya, es que ya valimos, ya no hay de otra. ¿Qué? ¿Creen, o sea, de verdad creen que están sacando la bandera blanca y diciendo, ok, pues ya la gente no confía en nosotros, ¿qué tenemos que hacer? ¿Censurarlos más? ¿No? ¿No se les hace raro que esté pasando eso y que lo estén diciendo en fuerte? Yo he visto y se los he dicho por un rato, Hollywood y todos los medios tradicionales han estado, pero no puede, es sencillo, es sencillo. Tengo la oportunidad de ver una película de 1 hora y media que costó $300 millones, o tengo la oportunidad de ver un podcast de mi creador favorito que dura 1 hora y media. ¿Cuál de los dos veré? ¿Película de $300 millones o mi creador de contenido favorito que hizo ese podcast con $0? No pueden competir, no existe esa competencia. El hecho que tengan que reportar con 59 productores, con 19,000 periodistas, con 39,000 cámaras en un estudio que están rentando, que son dueños de, pero están pagando el tiempo, aire, maquillaje, todo esto, no puedes comprar a alguien que tenga su teléfono. Y ahora, el otro lado de este empuje es Elon Musk. Y el lado de este empuje de Elon Musk es, ustedes son la prensa ahora. Y ha causado, esto es un problema gigantesco, porque lo único que está haciendo es incentivando a la gente a pensar de que ahora el futuro y todo esto de los medios les pertenece a todos nosotros, por lo que tenemos una responsabilidad de subir todo. Y eso es básicamente, si yo te quisiera pedir que por favor tuviera seguridad a máximo nivel en todo sin tener que poner cámaras, lo haría a través de esto. ¿Por qué? Porque nadie lo va a cuestionar, es la gente simplemente haciéndolo. Y ahora tengo un sistema de inteligencia artificial que puede capturar absolutamente todo y básicamente darme todos los datos de qué está haciendo la gente de izquierda a derecha y todas estas cosas. Entonces, estamos viendo esto, estamos viendo, ¿y por qué lo digo? Porque vimos que tuvimos el incidente de Las Vegas donde el güey se suicidó, entre comillas, en un Cybertruck que explotó en un hotel, etcétera. Después salió la historia contándonos de que, a este güey, a Sean Ryan, que también tiene un podcast buenísimo que es ex militar, a Sean Ryan le acaban de mandar a alguien, a través de alguien, una carta. Y esta carta era del manifiesto de este tío, ¿no? De, güey, me tienen que encontrar, espero que veas esta carta, no reveles mi nombre hasta después del 31, básicamente, y es una carta del tío este que lo hizo. Voy a entrar en más detalle después en un Nadie me preguntó con esto, pero la historia larga es literalmente esta historia que le mandaron a Sean Ryan, ¿no? Que es una historia de verdad. O sea, básicamente él está diciendo la verdad. Lo que no entiende es que le están mandando información que quiere que comparta. Y es lo que estamos viviendo. Estamos viviendo una nueva frontera donde ahora toda la gente que ves en redes sociales no puedes confiar en ellos. No puedes, porque no sabes si los están manipulando para que te den información de cierta forma. Ahora, si estás viendo un güey que hace cereal Choco Quick, ¿no? Y ese cereal Choco Quick lo prepara de ciertas formas o te está enseñando cómo hacer tacos, da igual. Pero si te estás informando de alguien, tienes que saber que todo el mundo es sujeto a esto. Y la cosa más aterradora de todo en este mundo cambiando es el pánico que le tiene todo el mundo a Elon Musk y admitir que Elon Musk está cambiando eso de libre expresión en Twitter a expresión positiva o te castigamos. Y vamos a platicar de eso después. Honestamente, una decepción gigantesca. Pero bueno, aquí estamos para el casino del tío Salo. Aquí tengo a Alex, aquí tengo a Farhan. Vamos a empezar analizando estas tablas, señores, que ya me mamé 7 minutos. Vengo tarde, soy yo, perdón. Pero aquí estamos. Vamos a ver qué exactamente nos trae toda la buena gente. Oigan, ¿qué nos trae la buena gente de estos lugares? Y qué bueno que se escucha mi micrófono, por cierto. Estaba justamente prendiendo la computadora y nada más no jalaba, pero ya al final resultó funcionar. Entonces, bien. Vamos a empezar, mi queridísimo Luis. Voy a traer estos tíos y vamos a darle con boom, my boys.
Good morning, sir.
Yo, what up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
You cut off for a second.
All right. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Much better than I was on Friday. I did something absolutely retarded. Completely mind-numbingly retarded.
There's no more Pepto-Bismol for you, and there's no Just for Men. Whenever you need it, you're not going to use it. I already lived that through someone else. I'm not going to the hospital for someone else that needs to apply Just for Men so that their beard can get thick. I'm sorry.
What makes me extra retarded is that I actually have a friend here who's a doctor, and he's like, dude, why didn't you just call me? Pepto-Bismol doesn't work for shit.
It really doesn't do anything. Yeah. Well, another week. By the way, market's looking very interesting and juicy. The first thing people want us to look into, it's Luis saying, check out Ethereum.
That's an interesting change of events.
I know. So who wants to share the Ethereum chart? And then we're going to jump into something called Geo, G-E-O, and then Solamis.
I'm pulling it up. We finally got a permanent place here in Mexico now. So
how'd you figure that out?
We were renting an Airbnb, which we really liked, and then the owner was telling us if we want to extend our stay, we can hit them up directly to book it outside of Airbnb. So we worked out a deal. And they're going to give us a formal contract, I believe, sometime this week.
Nice. Good for you guys. It feels nice to just know you're going to stay somewhere and fuck everything else.
Yeah, I hate moving so much.
Yeah, same. And I just keep doing it. Ethereum. The altcoin of all altcoins. The new Cardano, some would say.
I'm trying to see if Ethereum had that formation that Bitcoin does, but it does not. Let's start with
Bitcoin just broke its daily downtrend, now breaking out.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the quarterly on ETH. So after our last quarterly close in December of 2024, we did end up maintaining the 5 EMA and the 9 EMA, and we kind of use it as a spring. Now we're currently over this meme line right now, this meme line that I've been having since from the closing highs of 2021. And if you look at our momentum, it's already shifting back up, whereas volatility is coming pretty low areas. It's sitting somewhere around 18%. That would give us a target of hitting, as long as we're holding this bottom 38.2% of the median. And right now the median sits at new all-time highs, just over $5,000 at $5,032. Calm down, bud. Calm down. Calm down.
Because the median is so high?
Oh no, this cat's going wild.
I know. So again, I'm sorry, just one more question, just for my own sake. When the median goes up, is bullish?
It's not technically bullish. What you would like to see is for the median to go down and for you to open under the median. But as long as you're holding this bottom 38.2%, you at least get a test of the median. It doesn't tell you if you're going to close over it or not. It just tells you that you'll likely test it.
Yeah.
Which should take prices up to $5,000.
Got it. Yeah, and Bitcoin to 104 on a daily.
And right now on the monthly, we are maintaining this bottom 38.2% on several closes now. And we're sort of kind of using it as a spring. Oh my God, that hurts. Using it as a spring towards this median rate at the top right here. And we are currently over the 38.2% and we're over our meme line. And if you look at our momentum is projecting getting into the bearish control zone and it's starting to flip back up. So if you see right here, this is any divergence. No, technically not. While volatility is starting to shift down. So if we can close over this 38.2%, volatility is going to start shifting up. It's going to be in favor of momentum, which should take us to the top 38.2%. And then you see right here on the jewel is starting to flip around its curvature, and it's shifting into the white neutral color. And if we close over the 38.2% on the bottom, this is going to shift from white into light blue cyan buy. And that should take us back into the bullish control zone, which coincides with Ethereum hitting the top 38.2% on the monthly. Right now, that number sits at a pretty insane level at $7,629.
George.
Calling all Georges. I am George. We're all George. 2 week right now is first go around. We did deviate to 38.2%, but then we ended up holding this 5 EMA, which is our first level of support. And we are kind of using the 5 EMA as a spring, and we've opened closed above this meme line, and we've opened above it, which is taking us towards the top 38.2% right now, which is right now at just under $4,100 at $4,091. While momentum is kind of going down a little bit, it's the moving average is still pointed up, but the momentum oscillator is starting to point down with the volatility starting to point down. So if we do get some type of rejection here at 38.2%, I would be looking for a corrective move to from the 38.2% back down to this meme line, use this support, and then use that as a spring up towards the 50% or the 61.8%, which is somewhere between $4,300 and $5,100, which takes us towards that quarterly median at $5,000. On the weekly, we did regain this 5 EMA on the last weekly close. Not only that, but we closed over the median as well. And right now, we've opened above the median, and the median sits at $3,637. Price is at $3,677. So as long as we're over the median, we have a 61.8% chance of going towards the top 38.2%, which right now, this is just below 4,300 at 4,279. On the other hand, though, momentum is starting to shift down with volatility starting to shift down. So if we do lose this median on a weekly close, then volatility will start shifting up with momentum going down, and that'll take us to the bottom 38.2%, right, at 3,060. But as of right now, the setup is giving us a 61.8% chance of hitting the top 38.2%. And if we do close over this, then momentum and volatility are going to both start shifting up. That'll give us a target of the 61.8%, which is about $5,000. So same number as our quarterly median. Same thing on the weekly as the 5-day, except on the 5-day we already have momentum starting to shift up, with volatility sitting at 6%, and we still haven't quite closed over the median on the 5-day. The median sits at 3,782, but if we do close over this median, then volatility is going to start shifting up in favor of momentum. That'll take us towards that same $5,000 target. Two-day is still pointed to the upside on momentum. Volatility is trying to shift back up. It's going a little sideways now, but it's still technically pointed to the upside. And the 2-day jewel is giving us a pretty nice signal where it's rejecting getting into the bearish control zone and starting to flip back up and giving us this light blue cyan bicolor. What we want to see is this light blue continue upwards until we can break back into the bullish control zone. Then we should that would give us the perfect confluence with our HPDR to take us towards $5,000. As of right now, the first target on this 2-day would be the 38.2%, which right now is at 3,794. That would take us above that 5-day median as well. Daily is on the verge of is basically kind of getting a breakout right now. We have closed over the top 38.2%. We've come back to retest it, didn't quite make it all the way back down, but still held it. And now we're kind of springing off the 5 EMA. We're currently over the 50% on the HPDR. Momentum is starting to break into the bullish control, and volatility is shifting up. The jewel is flipping back around within the bearish control zone, and now it's breaking back into bullish control. So assuming we close over this 50%, that should take us somewhere around the 78.6, which that level is just below $4,000 at 3,977. And if we go all the way down to the 4-hour, we have now freshly closed over this 200 SMA, deviated a little bit, closed over it again, came back to retest it. Now we're holding it as support. And not only the 200 SMA, but this median on the 4-hour as well. And now we're about to get another close over this 38.2%. And usually whenever we get a close over the 38.2%, you get a nice move towards 78.6. Right now the 78.6, it's at just under $4,000 at like 3,900, 3,850. Now let's switch back to the quarterly and go to ETH BTC. ETH BTC looks like it's in the exact area where bulls would want to see it bounce and see a reversal, or else this is going to go significantly lower. Right at this period of consolidation that we had from July from 2020 to 2021. And if you look right here, momentum is starting to shift back up on the quarterly, with volatility still pointing to the downside. Whenever you have momentum pointed up and volatility pointed down, that would usually give you a target of hitting the median. Right now, the median sits right up here, somewhere around 0.06032 Bitcoins, or about 6 million Satoshis, whichever way you like to call it. And if we were to get back towards this median and close somewhere around here, that would close us over our previous lower highs, and that would give us a statistical target of retesting these areas, if not these areas over here at the top 38.2. And that is a significant move on ETH BTC. This is the type of move that takes Ethereum US dollar towards that $7,000, $8,000 area. So just for shits and giggles, let's calculate the percentage. Just over here to the median is about a 76% move. And then towards the top 38.2%, that is about 300% towards the upside on ETH BTC. Sheesh.
That's it?
Right. Only?
It's fucking disgusting.
Might as well not even bother with this garbage. It's only 300%.
Bear market.
Godzilla market. On the monthly, momentum is starting to shift back up as well. We're still within bearish control. If we can keep momentum up for one more monthly open, we're going to exit the bearish control, and that usually gives us a target back of the bullish control. So we got to keep momentum to the upside on the monthly. And the way we do that is we got to stay above this closing low of 0.03337. As long as we maintain that, we're going to keep the momentum to the upside, and that should take us out of the bearish control zone. But counterpoint to that right now is on the monthly, we do have a silver cross to the downside, and we have yet to retest this 9 EMA. So theoretically, this 9 EMA should provide some significant resistance. And if we are able to close over this 9 EMA, then we should see a pretty nice move towards the upside, towards that median target that we have on the quarterly, and then the top 38.2%. But until that happens, this 9 EMA should be seen as resistance. Come on. There we go. And the 2-week momentum is still pointing towards the upside. We've exited the bearish control. Volatility is now starting to tick up to support that move to the upside. And the jewel is now flipped back around within the bearish critical zone, starting to give us this nice little cyan buy signal. Within the next 1 or 2 opens, we're going to have exited the bearish control zone and make our way towards the bullish control zone. Then we look at the HPDR bands. We've now reclaimed the bottom 38.2%. We're holding it as support and flipping this downtrend into somewhat of an uptrend. We don't have a higher high yet. We just have a higher low. So we want to see is we want to see a close over 0.4076, which would also take us over this median. Then we would have a 2-week uptrend on ETH-BTC, which should theoretically take us towards this 100 EMA. Right now, that 100 EMA is sitting at right around 0.052, very close to getting to closing over that target that we had on the quarterly, which was about, I believe, 0.05, around that 9 EMA. That should take us towards the median, which is around 0.06. Close over that, then you start to go vertical on ETH-BTC. Nobody. The only thing that's just more disappointing than ETH-BTC is me to my parents.
Damn. That's how it is, huh?
Yeah. Why you know, doctor? On the weekly, momentum is still pointing to the upside. The first tap around, we're rejecting the bullish control, but now we should see a higher low, and then see momentum break back into bullish control, and then we're gonna have volatility support on top of that. If you look at the jewel is now crossing back over the bearish control zone, and we're getting the pink crossing back over the yellow. This is pretty nice. It's not the best jewel signal that you'll see because it's not all bunched together, but it's still a pretty nice buy signal on the jewel on the weekly.
Because it's coming from down the bottom critical zone, right? And bouncing from there.
The lower the jewel flips back around from, the better the signal.
Yeah. So kind of like volatility.
Yeah. Because the jewel combines volatility, Fibonacci's, and momentum.
What a fancy fuck.
That's why it's not cheap.
That's why it's thousands of dollars. Exactly.
The weekly has now reclaimed the median on ETH-BTC for the first time since this breakdown that we had back in June of 2024. We've been steadily below the median ever since then. We've now just now reclaimed the median, and we kind of use it as somewhat of a spring and a support towards the upside. Now we're at the top 38.2%, which is still technically resistance right now. We have not closed over the top 38.2%. Momentum is still pointing to the upside with volatility supporting it. So if we do close over this top 38.2%, that would take us towards the 100 EMA, which is just over the 78.6%. And that will take us to somewhere around like 0.048 to maybe 0.05. 5-day right now is still under the median, and as of right now, we are still rejecting the median, with momentum still pointing to the upside, volatility pointed down. This setup gives you a test of the median, but it doesn't tell you if you're going to break the median or not. As of right now, we're still rejecting the median. If we can close over this median at 0.04, that volatility will start flipping back up, and that will take us up towards 0.05s. 2-day now is still over the median. Now we've reclaimed most of our major EMAs. We're over the 9, we're over the 21. We're getting a back test of the 21 EMA right now. So this 21 EMA does hold a support that would take us up towards somewhere around the 200. And the 200 sits right around this 88.3, around like 0.048 to somewhere around 0.05. With momentum starting to shift back down on the 2-day, rejecting the bullish control, and volatility shifting down as well. And the jewel is starting to flip back, just within, like, peeking its head into the bearish control zone and deviating in and getting back out. So this is a pretty nice jewel signal that you see right here. Whenever it goes just slightly into the bearish control, then flips back around and instantly gets out of the bearish control. And now we're back over the pink and the yellow. So what we want to see is this 21 EMA hold as support, and that should spring us towards the 0.48s to 0.5s. 0.048, 0.05. But 0.48 is pretty extreme. It's like half a Bitcoin.
Just a tiny, small amount.
The daily is now also rejecting the bullish control with volatility shifted down along with the momentum. So whatever move we are getting to the downside right now should be seen as a correction unless we lose this median. If we lose this median around 0.36, then volatility will be shifting up, with momentum shifting down, and that'll give us a target at the minimum of this bottom 38.2%. Which likely doesn't hold because we're going to be testing this wick, and then we probably end up making new lows. So right now, we just want to see this 0.036 area hold as a very strong support on a daily closing basis. 4-hour now is getting momentum sharply to the downside. We're close to breaking into the bearish control. And now volatility is supporting this move to the downside. The jewel is shifting heavily to the downside with the dark blue sell signal. And we're just at the bottom 38.2%. We're slightly below it. We want to see this hold, really want to see this hold, because if you notice, every single time, every single one of these lows that we've made, major lows that we've had, we're right around this bottom 38.2%. If we lose this 38.2% on a closing basis, our only hopium is going to be this 100 EMA around 0.036. You remember that 0.036 number on a daily. If we lose that number, we're gonna Nagasaki setup most likely.
God damn. There's no way. I feel like all the alts are like pumping hard, like the smaller ones now.
Ding! One of my friends is on the what do you call it, marketing team for this some shit coin that based off of a bird, and he was asking me to promote it, and I'm like, unless you're paying me copious amounts of money, I'm not promoting shit.
Yeah, but hey, dude, can you do me a solid? I need to make money. Can you please do my job? I beg you. I get emails. I get an email from a yacht company out of Dubai, and they're like, here's the specs of the yacht. Here's a party that we had. Here's the footage. Post it on your social media. But if you're going to post it, please contact me for prior approval of your post. I'm like, wow, what an incredible method. You just get paid by the yacht company, and then you just hit up people like, hey, please post this for free. But then I got to make sure that you send the message properly. So before you do it, I need to approve your free post. People are incredible. Good for them. Dude, I need one of those free jobs.
Yeah, hit me up with one if you find it.
Yeah. Hey, guys, promote all of my stuff. Can you guys please promote it? Guys, anyone that's watching, can you please promote all of the Elite Trading Academy packages? Thank you. Just do it for free. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The what's his name? That one dude who was causing problems on the Discord will suck your dick if you do it.
I didn't see that, but I'm sure he will.
On the monthly, we still have monthly hidden bullish divergence on Ethereum USD.
Nice.
Still active. Right now, the divergence is going to be active as long as we're closing above. What's this number here? $3,100. As long as we're closing above $3,100, the divergence is going to be active, and we're going to have two targets from here. First one is going to be the moving average. Second one is going to be the critical zone. Right now, the moving average sits at, what a beautiful number, $5,000.
Damn.
And the critical zone sits at, all right, get ready, George, $9,000. This is going to take several months to play out, so this number very likely changes. It might go up, it might go down. It's very difficult to know right now, but as of right now, if we hit the critical zone in this next 25 days, the number is $9,000. George,
by the dude, George is gonna lose his fucking mind, and we're all gonna look like idiots for laughing at him.
You like fucking retards. Who's laughing now?
He's like, ha 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 ha. Anyways, guys.
I said I wanted to be a comedian when I was younger, and everyone laughed. No one's laughing now.
That's pretty good.
2 week now has potential for hidden bullish divergence. It's not yet confirmed. It will be confirmed as we close above 3,675. That hidden bullish divergence would have two targets, would be the bullish control zone and the critical zone. Right now, the bullish control zone sits at 4,632, and the critical zone, oh, George, 9,842. Imagine George is right and it goes to $20,000.
No.
Okay, everyone, I'm George, and we're all fucked today, in the good way. Today now has multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence confirmed after its last close. That gives us the targets of the bullish control zone and the bullish critical zone. And right now, the bullish control zone sits at 4,222 for a pretty reasonable number. And the critical zone sits right now at 6,133. Less of a reasonable number. Daily, none. 4 hour. 4 hour has a drive of hidden bullish divergence, but it's basically already played out. It's going to continue staying active as long as we're closing above $3,631. As long as we're closing above there, it's going to be active, and our next target is going to be the critical zone. Right now, that level is at 3,774. And we're coming off of basically a Hamas setup on the 4 hour. We have multiple periods of 0% volatility, and we got hidden bullish divergence still active. I'll check
Very
HPTC
nice.
for some divergences. Oh. The weekly on ETH-BTC now has 3 drives of regular bullish divergence, with the jewel giving a pretty nice signal and volatility at pretty low levels. That would give us targets of the bullish control zone and the bullish critical zone. And because, oh wait, no, there's not that many zeros, so it actually tells us beautiful. Right now, the bullish control zone sits at 0.04, and the critical zone sits at 0.08. That's more than a 100% move to the upside on ETH-BTC. So then Ethereum, the way to take that is Ethereum is going to be gaining more than 100% versus its Bitcoin value.
God damn.
You get twice as many Russian Ethereums for one Chinese Bitcoin. Or half as many, my bad.
Half as many is right, yeah.
The 5-day now has many drives of regular bullish divergence with volatility at 46%. That would give us the targets of the bullish control zone and the critical zone. Same bullish control zone target is 0.04. Critical zone is at 0.07. 100% move from where we are right now. And what goes along with that is whenever ETH-BTC moves, it likes to move. Because Ethereum usually blows its whole load within like a one drive to the upside, and then it puts in the FOMO and then fucks everybody who's late to the party.
Yeah, it's really, really fast in its moves. You're totally right.
2-day now also has regular bullish divergence. It's going to be active as long as we're closing above 0.03538. As long as we're closing above there, we would have a target of the bullish control zone, which right now sits at, 0.04. That number just keeps coming back up. Daily is about to put in a fresh drive of hidden bearish divergence. And we're gonna confirm it if we close below here 0.3656. So we're just barely below that number right now. We close below that number, the hidden bearish divergence is going to confirm, and we'd have a first target of this neutral middle zone. Right now, that level is at 0.03, and then after that, we'd hit the bearish control zone, which is at 0.03, probably a little bit lower, because it doesn't tell you what the next digit is.
We're gonna have to have a serious conversation with Mr. Crown.
Yeah, Mr. And the caretaker. We need more decimal points, sir.
I'm gonna show you who to take. Fuck. Never mind.
4 hours already confirmed the regular hidden bearish divergence. We've already hit the neutral middle zone, while we have 0% volatility, which is not pretty to see with the hidden bearish divergence. And that would take us towards the bearish control zone. And if this volatility starts expanding to the upside, like it starts expanding up, well, volatility momentum is down with the hidden bearish divergence. That would give us the critical zone. And since we don't have that second decimal point, all we see is 0.03. Let's go to the momentum chart. Wow, that bi-yearly pivot is absolutely insane. 6-month momentum is going to remain to the upside in Ethereum as long as price is over $1,220. I'd say that's pretty safe. 3 months is going to be pointed to the upside, and it's currently entering into the bullish control zone. Volatility shifting up from the lowest point in Ethereum's history, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $2,270. Monthly is now maintaining the bullish control zone, rejecting getting out of the bullish control, starting to flip back up, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above 3,052. 2 week is still expanding on volatility. We're just about to enter into the critical zone, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above 2,924. Weekly is now currently pointed to the downside. It's exiting the critical zone, and it's going to be pointed down as long as we're below 4,040. What we want to see on this next weekly open is we want to see a test of the edge of the bullish control zone, and then we want to see this number come down significantly. If this comes down to somewhere around 3,500, 3,600, this is going to be exactly what the bulls want to see to get that move up towards $5,000. If this goes up or stays the same, not the most bullish thing.
We just have another week to close that.
Yeah, we want to see the next weekly open, and then if we close below this number, we want to see this number drop. Because if it drops, it goes down to 35, 3,600, then
it's real good.
Then momentum is in the bull's favor. That's just hopium, though. We have no idea where that number is going to go until it happens. Pump me full of that hopium. 5 days also pointed towards the downside. We're just about to test that edge of the bullish control zone. So same thing as the weekly. When this closes, we want to see this number change. Right now, it's at 3,772. We want to see it go down to somewhere around $3,500 to $3,600. Then we can say that our momentum is back in the bull's favor. We're going to see a flip back up from the bullish control back into the critical zone, and that should take us towards $4,800 to $5,000. 2 day is now rejecting getting into the critical zone, starting to flip back up. And we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $3,383. And this should also, on this next 2 day open, take us out of the bearish control zone too. Come on. And now daily is pointed to the upside with volatility expansion. We're entering into the critical zone, and we're pointed up as long as we're above $3,448. All right. Now this gives us some bias with this 4 hour Hamas setup that we're building right now. Is that we're starting to flip back. We have multiple periods of 0% volatility. Why is my ship freezing? Many periods. My computer is not. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
the cursor was kind of not moving. So we have many periods of 0% volatility. We're starting to expand now. We're getting over the moving average. We're still below 15%. Oh wow, that volatility move was pretty well. We just went from 5% to 7% in a second. Now we're about to hit 8%. It's some nice volatility expansion, and we're just deviating the critical zone, and we're starting to flip back up, re-entering the critical zone, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $3,682. So now we see volatility starting to expand from many periods of 0%. We see momentum starting to shift back up, taking us back into the critical zone. Kind of looks like Russian Vitalik coin is primed to move to the upside. Look at the higher time frames, like the 6 month and the quarterly. Momentum is strongly to the upside, and it's going to be pointed up especially on the 6 month, as long as we're above $1,200. If you look on the quarterly, momentum is going to be pointed up as long as we're above like $2,600, and we have hidden bullish divergence on the monthly as well, which gives us some pretty ridiculous targets. For the first one around $5,000, the next one is $9,000. And if you go to the lower time frames, like the 2 day momentum is starting to shift down, but we're about the 5 day and the 2 day momentum starting to shift down, but we are still within the bullish control zone. So we want to see a test at the edge of the bullish control zone, the pivot to drop, and then from there bulls can take back over and take it to that $5,000 target. And what gives you a bias that is likely to happen and that momentum pivot will drop is if you go lower to the lower time frames, especially like the 4 hour, you're getting a little 4 hour Hamas setup where there's many periods of 0% volatility. You're getting momentum starting to shift back around within the bullish control zone and just about to re-enter into the bullish critical zone. All of that combined together you should see a nice move towards the upside on medium time frames, which then turns the weekly and the 5 day back up, which goes along with the monthly hidden bullish divergence towards that $5,000 target.
Well, let's see if it's true. Okay, we'll see if it's true. If not, I'll be clipping you. I will be clipping you. Real team player right here. All righty, we have Gio next and Salami's next.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Right. On the 17th, I'm heading to Mexico City.
Oh, you are? Is the girlfriend taking you there?
Yeah, I'm gonna meet her mom, and her sisters.
Good luck. That's all I can say. Best of motherfucking luck.
Hopefully, it'll be fun in Mexico City, though.
Oh, Mexico City is the best. The best, dude. Good for you. Good for you, actually. I'm jealous. All righty. Vale. Vamos a ver Ethereum. Vamos a empezar en la de trimestral. Sencillamente queremos ver qué está pasando con Ethereum, dónde estamos parados en este momento. Podemos ver, venimos en una tendencia alcista potente. Volatilidad está expandiendo. Ojo, ojo, en la trimestral la volatilidad está expandiendo desde acá. Bastante bien, del punto más bajo por encima del promedio, que nunca lo había hecho, básicamente. Y eso nos pone literalmente en un excelente momento para Ethereum, que se ve bastante bien en la trimestral. ¿Qué tenemos? Tenemos claramente un problema, ¿no? Tenemos este alto y no hemos creado un nuevo alto, pero tenemos estos bajos con bajos más altos, y ahora lo único que queda es obviamente romper ese alto más alto en 4,860, 4,870. Una vez que nos podemos llevar eso entre las patas, claramente Ethereum va a romper a nuevos números. ¿Qué tan fuerte? Vamos a ver, pero tenemos objetivos bastante locos. Por ahora tenemos el primer objetivo que vamos a poner a corto plazo, está por ahí de los 5,000. Pero vamos a empezar poco a poco, uno por uno. Vamos a la mensual. En Ethereum podemos ver acá donde se ha encontrado con esta resistencia, donde está indicada por la línea meme diagonal que va bajando, la rojita. Y ahora estamos intentando romper por acá. Nos ha detenido 2 veces, 3 veces, 4 veces, 5 veces esta resistencia por acá, y lo que queremos hacer es transformar esta línea en soporte. Eso es lo primero que estamos buscando en este momento. Vamos a ver en la mensual si tenemos algún setup de volatilidad. No, la volatilidad está contrayendo al punto más bajo. Otra vez que ha estado en la historia en los 11, pero recuerda que para nosotros tener un setup de volatilidad solamente necesitamos que suba arriba del 15% en esta zona. Que para toda la gente que tal vez nos está viendo por primera vez, esto es el BBWP, es un indicador de volatilidad. Simplemente le doy clic por acá. La volatilidad es la línea de colores que va cambiando de colores, y la línea blanca es el promedio de la volatilidad. La parte de arriba en el 100% es volatilidad extrema, al 100% cuando hay mucha, y aquí abajo de 15%, yo puse esta línea meme, está el 0%. 0% es cuando ven líneas azules. Lo que normalmente quieres ver para la volatilidad estar expandiendo es subir, que esté por encima del promedio del blanco y esté por arriba del 15%, que es por lo que tengo esta línea horizontal justamente acá. Y ahí está puesta una vez más, y esperamos a ver si va a haber otro cero por acá, pero se ve bastante bien que esté haciendo esto, y sobre todo con momentum acompañándolo, se ve bastante alcista. Mientras, lo que estamos viendo por acá es que no hemos podido cerrar ninguna vela todavía más allá de lo que pudimos el 1 de mayo. Ese cierre más alto que hemos tenido antes de los altos históricos fue en 3,760. De ahí el alto más alto que tuvimos fue en 3,714, y ahora estamos intentando volver a romper esto. Esta vela todavía tiene 25, 19 horas para cerrar. ¿Ok? Esto también podría ser un doble techo, así que atentos a ello. Un doble techo es un patrón de reversión. Normalmente cuando tienes dos toques en un mismo lugar, que haya sido el lugar más alto donde el precio llegó, eso indicaría que habría una reversión si es que el precio no puede romper toda la resistencia que tiene encima, y ahorita es justamente lo que estamos por encima del promedio del 5, del 9, lo que se hace ver bastante bien. Voy a quitar el 5, que no lo uso para nada, pero estamos bastante alcistamente colocados en este momento. Vamos a acercarnos un poco más, vamos a ver la de 2 semanas en Ethereum, y vamos a ver cómo hemos tenido un poco de expansión lateral en volatilidad, pero está expandiendo oficialmente, lo pueden ver por acá. Comenzó a expandir por acá, vamos a ver qué hay por ahí, van a ver, y de acá pues tienes la expansión ¿de dónde fue eso? Arriba el 15% a 33%. ¿Y qué fue lo que hizo el precio? Vamos a ver. De justamente la parte baja de esta vela, a dónde está el precio en este momento. ¿Dónde está el precio en este momento? Acá. Un 64%. Nada mal. solamente básicamente con un 15% de volatilidad, así que todavía le queda bastante camino. ¿Y qué es lo que estamos viendo más cerca en esta tablerina? Perdón, déjenme rápidamente borro esta línea vertical. Ok. ¿Qué es lo que estamos viendo acá? Estamos creando altos más altos en cierres y bajos más altos en este momento. Estos fueron nuestros bajos más bajos por ahí de julio. No los hemos vuelto a tocar y hemos simplemente creado nuevos bajos más altos. Eso es bastante bueno. Esta consolidación de precio es bastante alcista. Se ve muy bien en la de 2 semanas también. Vámonos. Y espérenme, se me olvida que también tenemos HPDR por acá para que lo puedan ustedes mismos ver. Ya en esta temporalidad tiene más sentido. Parecería que tenemos un viaje gratis a los 4,107, estando por encima de la media, agarrándonos del promedio del 9 y rebotando encima. Vamos a ver si se llega a dar, pero acá los $4,000 empiezan a pintar bien, que es la zona de alta en la zona, la parte alta de la zona azul. Vamos a la semanal. En la semanal nos vamos acercando un poco más a donde estamos en el precio en estos momentos. Podemos ver un poco de lo mismo, esta consolidación alcista. Después esta reversión que crea un bajo más alto que los de acá. Bastante bien, manteniendo esta estructura intacta. Y ahora estamos justamente rebotando en la media. La media está en 3,637, lo pueden ver acá. 3,630, a menos de que sea esta línea. No, bien, esa línea es la 3,589. Estamos por encima de la media, encima de la línea meme y además, lo importante para mí es esta línea roja. Esta línea roja ha tenido muy pocos cierres por encima, pero una vez que estás tapeando esa línea, y déjenme les enseño rápido eso, esta línea roja, una vez que tengamos cierres por encima de ella, vamos a empezar a ver rápidos movimientos a la parte alta de esta. Lo pueden ver, el primero que tuvimos, que fue nos llevó hasta los 4,100. No hemos tenido desde ese entonces, nuestro siguiente cierre fue después de haber darnos un bajón hasta los 3,500, y después tuvimos esta vela envolvente bajista y ahora estamos subiendo una vez más para cancelarla. Definitivamente estamos buscando cerrar encima de esta zona, y esta zona en todos los pibes de volatilidad y momentum también es muy importante, la de 3,660 básicamente, que es lo que queremos aguantar en esta temporalidad. Vamos a ver si hay un setup de volatilidad. No, la volatilidad está simplemente contrayendo en la semanal. Y vamos a poner una vez más el HPDR y vámonos a la diaria. En la de harina estamos bastante por encima de la zona azul, estamos en la zona del 50%, y si tenemos este cierre por acá, vamos a ir a buscar esa zona de los 3,761, que es la parte del 61,8%, y pueden ver que aquí arriba tenemos excelente confluencia con el 78,6%, que es justamente esta zona de por ahí de los $4,000, que es lo que tiene cara. El promedio del 9 está por encima del 21, estamos por encima del 55, y todo pinta bastante bien. En la diaria tenemos algún setup, tienes la volatilidad también expandiendo al mismo tiempo que estás viendo al precio expandir hacia arriba, lo que nos dice que esto tiene fuerza para continuar empujando, y esperemos ver este cierre por encima de los 3,660. Sí, es básicamente esa la zona tan importante que seguimos mencionando. Cuando volteamos a ver ETH BTC, podemos ver que hemos sido rechazados de la parte en la diaria. Y esta es la única que les enseñaría para ahorrarles todo el salpullido. Llegamos a la parte de arriba en la zona azul, el 38,2% nos rechazó, y ahora estamos justamente acá. Necesitamos rebotar en esta zona. Si perdemos esta zona y la media que está en 0.04, vamos a ir a la parte baja de esto, y tal vez no aguante la parte baja de la zona azul, porque hemos venido a retestar esta zona bastantes veces, y eso nos pondría en peligro de perder literalmente esta zona, el 0.3528. ¿Qué es lo que queremos ver si somos alcistas en Ethereum? Queremos ver que esta vela no caiga por debajo de la media del canal, que está en 0.03599. Es básicamente lo que estamos viendo en Ethereum. Bitcoin empieza a verse bastante bien la fiesta. Simplemente va a ser cosa de poder tener nuestro breakout justamente acá. Déjenme también les escondo esto para poder ponerlo más sencillo. Esa siempre ha sido como la media, lo pueden ver de donde venga esto. Vamos a venir una vez más a la zona justamente de acá y queremos romper acá. Esto es lo que estamos buscando, poder cerrar por encima del punto 036869, eso nos llevaría aquí un retesteo del promedio del 100, y como lo hemos testeado ya varias veces, tenemos más probabilidad de poder romperlo a la alza e ir a buscar esta zona. Así que vamos a mantener un ojo abierto en Ethereum. Empieza a pintar bien la cosa para las alts, sobre todo con este movimiento de Bitcoin. Vamos a ver si es el movimiento de los altcoins que hemos estado esperando o si simplemente es un movimiento como total porque estamos viendo a Bitcoin también subir. Alrighty, Alex, what do you got there?
Solana. Or
Salamis.
Salamis. Yes, sir. So Sol's actually looking pretty nice. What I like about Sol BTC is it's pretty easy to gauge, actually. In all time frames, which I'll show, we're getting this resistance right around that 227, 228 level, being kind of the big spot for Sol BTC. It made sense we got the reaction that we got so far, especially on that big dump we had on Sol BTC. We know this area so far does like to act kind of like an extremity low, being like it's kind of like the last spot before we do bigly dump to that SMA 200 on the 5-day. So we got that bounce. We've rallied up to resistance. Sol has held that 216 level on its tether pairing. But now we really need to gauge the reaction on Sol BTC. Depending on what it does here, it could reject 5-day silver crosses. As you guys can see, it's very fresh about to. And it also could do a 5-day median rejection, or it can reclaim this meme line here. And then in that point, I do believe Sol can easily go back up to the top of the range, right around that 2.6 level. And then that'll be, like we've been saying for weeks now, and a major point for Sol BTC. That 2.6 level, right around the 382, is the point on Sol BTC where it, will ever so slightly break us out, and then we'll reject and fall back into the range, break us out, and then fall back into the range. And then in the most recent occurrence right here in November, where we had this false breakout and then we fell back in, rejecting the channel and then breaking down. Also, what's nice about this channel is the 5-day kind of solidifies that. Yeah, I mean, if we break this range here, we're most likely going to go up. My next level is that 3.0 level, 303, 304. But we see the 382 is currently right around there. So if the 5-day, and these ranges will keep ideally moving down. Ideally, though, if the 5-day can't get back above that 223 level, then I don't see why we're not going to test the top of this channel. If we go and view the weekly, you can see the posturing of that EMA 34 and 21. The weekly EMA 9 has been steadily holding us down. And so currently right around this range is, like I was saying in the beginning, pretty big resistance on Sol BTC. I'm seeing a lot of people now on crypto Twitter start to get bullish on Sol. And it makes sense, especially with the tethering price looking as good as it does. But again, we just really want to gauge a bigger breakout on Sol, especially since we know there's a 5-day setup on the tether pairing, to really understand if we're going to get a bigger move up. Because, if we just rally up to that weekly EMA 9, which is currently right around that 5-day median, and reject, then, we run the risk of that 5-day actually silver crossing to the downside, and then this forming some kind of lower high around here. Let's go to the 2-day here. The 2-day is interesting because the 2-day right around that spot that I was talking about, that 228 level, has right around that EMA 100, but then also that SMA 200, all around the same area. Again, just kind of solidifies why this spot is pretty massive for Sol BTC. You can just simply see on this 2-day chart, right before we broke down, we lost that SMA 200, rallied up to it, and then rejected it. And so for me, when I see this, it just ties into, it solidifies, that the 5-day Sol BTC 382 right around this zone. Because if the 2-day does reclaim that SMA 200, there's really not going to be much, nothing but really air until my meme line, if not all the way up to that 78.6 level at 2.7. And remember, if Sol BTC does well, Sol tether pairing is going to do very good compared to Bitcoin. And then we can even view ETH. But, it compared to Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's breaking out like it's currently doing, and Sol, BTC can actually flip bullish and hold the levels, then, when Bitcoin's pumping, it's going to outperform Bitcoin. Again, this 2-day SMA 200 here was basically the spot where, you know, we reclaimed it and held before bigly breaking out. I mean, this spot was percentage point. So I'm not gonna. The numbers are a little confusing on always the Bitcoin pairing, but I mean, essentially from that reclaim, that gave us a 202% move. So it's a pretty massive zone, pretty big decision point for Sol BTC right around that mean line. Let's go here to the monthly real quick. So what we see. We see here something to note is monthly volatility is at the lowest still. And something that we talked about into last week's stream was, you know, we are breaking back above the moving average, which is a welcoming sign. We can see here that last time the monthly did that, you know, we were basically right around that big breakout zone before, you know, Sol BTC, you know, did trek up and move up, you know, another 97%. It's not fully giving us volatility setup. We're not under the 15%, but this is still something to, you know, be mindful of because, you know, the lowest volatility read on a monthly chart can often brew big moves once we get the expansion. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to go under 15%. That just makes it easier to catch because we have our confirmation. But I mean, low volatility on the monthly, this took a long time to go down. And now we're breaking back with the moving average. It just shifts, you know, the bias here. If, you know, again, where that monthly 9 is right around that mean line. If the monthly really does reclaim that EMA 9, it'll look like the EMA 21 held perfectly. We wicked down to the mean line. That acted as a spring. And then ideally into this next month, we essentially reclaimed that EMA 9. An area here that on Sol BTC and the whole bull market of it has been a big point of support. Each and every time we wick down, this has always held. So now us losing it in December is a very, very cautionary sign, but we can be hopeful because we have a really easy way of gauging kind of Sol BTC if it's going to actually break out, simply because we have the 2-day, the daily, the 5-day, the weekly, all the levels that I talked about are all right around that 228 level. But this is a spot where you do want to be careful because, you know, yes, it can be an easy long if we reclaim it, but we first have to reclaim it. And what we don't want is it to just simply rally up to the EMA 9, an area that has been solid support, and then this is flipped into resistance before we go down. That would not be a good occurrence here, and very much so. Just like this can be very strong support, on the flip side, it can be strong resistance. So this is going to be the mission for Solana bulls essentially into this month, is to reclaim the EMA 9 on the monthly, not reject it.
That's a fucked up looking chart right there.
Yeah,
because that looks just like that bearish retest before it continues down.
You know, and that's a good point. You know, we not only did lose the EMA 9, we have the monthly median down, but then also we do have a range break here. You know, it doesn't seem like a lot here, but since popping back into this range, we were here for 3, 6 on the 7th month, broke down from a 7th month range, right where the EMA 9 is, right where the 5-day median is currently where price rejecting. You can see here, I believe this is the area you were talking about, Alejandro, where we kind of just rallied up, rejected, and then this was the big breakdown.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it kind of looks like you could do that.
So,
yeah.
100%. The hopium here, though, is just simply because of what Farin told us all with ETH BTC. You know, as long as Maya level, ETH BTC holds that 366 level, alts inherently should catch a bid. The idea then would be that Sol BTC then can also catch one with Sol, with ETH, you know, assuming that, you know, ETH, the Sol ETH pairing doesn't look as horrendous as it did like 2 weeks ago when we viewed it. But this is going to be the big spot. Bulls really need to start working, which they are, but we really need to sustain this. And the issue is it's in 25 days, this monthly is closing, which basically means that's an eternity in crypto land. Let's see, I just want to view the weekly before we go to the Sol ETH, and then we can view the Sol tether pairing because, you know, it all correlates. The nice part about this weekly is this was a nice SFP from that EMA 100. You know, we talked about watching the reaction around here simply because we haven't retested it since October, since we broke above it in October of 2023. The hopium here, though, is that, you know, the BBWP on the weekly is starting to expand while we're going up. So that's why, in my opinion, we need to see a green dildo here soon, or we are going to run the risk of rejecting that 50%, which is right around the zone of that weekly EMA 9. And then we're going to roll over, and then this volatility expansion could be in favor of bears. But until then, and as long as that EMA 100 especially keeps holding, this has a good chance of actually getting that volatility expansion up, causing us to range break back into this zone. But the issue with Sol BTC is, even if we do start popping back into this zone, what we know already without the median is simply this level right around that 2.6. It's been a very huge point of resistance for essentially Solana bulls. Anytime Sol looks like it's right about to break out to $400 on its tether pairing, and it's looking really juicy, it's always this that causes us to just break down, or always diminishes that tether pairing move. We see here the weekly median around that zone. So, bulls either want to pop us back into this range, reclaiming the 382, consolidate, cause the median to start trekking down, giving them more of a chance to reclaim it, or they need to really just give us a green dildo up and kind of, obnoxiously reclaim it, essentially, fulfilling that weekly volatility setup that we see. We also, something to note too on this weekly volatility setup is this is the lowest weekly volatility read ever printed on Sol BTC, and now we are confirming that expansion. So with how I can interpret that is the move here, if it wants to load, this is a better example. The most recent right around here, where we got that full expansion, we essentially moved up pretty nicely. I mean, at this point, when it reclaimed that 15%, we'll just take it from here, even just to be conservative. This gave us 150% move. That's why it's interesting to see that the weekly is at the lowest volatility read, because it's even lower than what we saw around October. The Hamas setup, essentially. So Sol BTC is looking good. It really is going to determine a lot on if we actually pop back into that range and simply not reject that monthly 9. I do believe the 2-day too is looking interesting. No, we already viewed the 2-day. So that is Sol BTC. I'm curious actually to see how Sol ETH looks now. I'll quickly do this one, because last time I checked, it was just looking quite bad. It was looking bad because if we go to the higher time frames, what we got into the last quarter was a massive, massive reversal shooting star on the quarterly, something that we've never gotten on Sol ETH. And this was a big area of concern. And so if I take this off, because it's kind of conflicting with the red, we view this candle into this quarter, but bulls are essentially going to need to break this high. If their job is going to be into this quarter to slingshot Sol ETH and break this high, invalidating this candle. Bears are actually going to try to get that follow through. So any rally up to this point is perfectly fine with bears. They actually probably want to get a rally filled this wick so they can start filling shorts as close to this stop loss as possible. Because if this candle is going to play true, then you're going to want to see this next quarterly actually turn red. We get the follow through after the reversal candle, and then the next logical spot, even without the lines here, the HBDR is just simply that quarterly EMA 9. I do think that quarterly EMA 9 is smart. If you even just took it, from this last wick high rejection and drew a line, you can see that quarterly EMA 9 is simply just trekking up with price and approaching that level. That, to me, this still looks like it's in a range. We had that nice almost range breakout, but as you guys can see, it's just a solid rejection. And so that does, in my opinion, kind of set the tone for Sol ETH. It's going to be really important for essentially Sol ETH bulls to break this high. The nice part is, even though Sol BTC broke its EMA 9 on the monthly, we do still see Sol ETH essentially holding the monthly pretty nicely, even into December on that major dump and the follow through from that monthly shooting star. Even we had the quarterly, the 2-month, and the monthly, and possibly, just because I want to know, the 6-month. Now the 6-month actually was okay. Going back to the monthly, right now you're going to just want to see either a rejection around here and us actually hit this Sol ETH monthly EMA 9 because you can see we slightly front ran it. But again, this is going to be the spot that you're going to need to hold, or we're going to run the risk of essentially going back to that monthly median, which is right around that line I just drew on stream here, which makes sense. I mean, this zone here was a big zone to reclaim for bulls. We could not. We simply rejected it cleanly here and then fell through. So in my head, this makes sense if we end up getting that follow through, especially on the quarterly and really dumping. I think it's wise to really gauge the quarterly EMA 9 because it's currently right around where that weekly 21 is. And what we know, I mean, the monthly 21. And what we know simply is that monthly 9 has just been solid support. And losing that EMA 9 on the monthly happens, and we would get a target to that EMA 21. And then, assuming that monthly quarterly here maybe treks up more or keeps going down, the nice part about this, aside from Sol BTC, is on the monthly we still are above the median here too. So again, this could just tell me that when ETH is doing good, Sol tether pairing could still be okay, assuming that it keeps holding, especially on like a daily, back above that EMA 100, which you can currently see it is right around, that 5.9 level. That's important to hold. But really to get that next expansion move up, I really do want to see that EMA 100 get reclaimed on the daily on Sol ETH. You can see it for, since we lost it 2 days now, we've just been rejecting it. We're now rallied back up to it. Just plays into what we saw on Sol BTC, in my opinion, where on the Bitcoin pairing and now on the ETH pairing, we are at resistance. So this is a spot where, we might not want to FOMO or get too zealous on Sol until we get the actual confirmation, which will be, in my opinion, on the ETH reclaiming that EMA 100. Now let me just do the 2-day and see that. So the 2-day, very much like what I said on the quarterly, the monthly, you're really going to want to see bulls step in here and break this last high, or this is going to run the risk of turning into, very simply put, another lower high before, going down, locally topping from this massive shooting star here, rejecting the 50%, rejecting also that EMA 34, and then coming all the way back down closer to first that EMA 100. Losing that then would take us to the median, if not all the way to the bottom of the 382. So, Sol ETH bulls are really going to need to get to work because with these massive reversal candles, essentially, especially on like a daily or and above, you always do want to just see the follow through on the next candle. It's kind of how they work. You get a shooting star on the next one, you always rally up, put in some kind of retest, and then from that you want to see the rejection. Where this makes it a little tricky is where we're at in the meme line, because we can see each time we lose this spot, it generally does lead to bigger moves. Here, granted, we just had a lot of chop, but that was right around that October big Hamas setup move. Generally, when you get big volatility setups and big moves, it's going to reset BBWP, but then also create a lot of chop. But then here we can see once we lost that, we did end up going all the way down to the EMA 100, breaking down, and then that's what took us closer to the green zone on the HBDR. We actually did wick down and hit it slightly, which is right around that 618, which is currently right around that SMA 200 on the 2-day. So on the Bitcoin and ETH pairing, Sol bulls are really going to need to get to work, or they're going to really run the risk of a rejection around here, which then could play into tether pairing. Tether pairing is looking okay though to me. And even if the ETH and Bitcoin pairing start rejecting and coming down, doesn't necessarily mean the tether pairing needs to actually follow them and break down. It could just mean that we're really just going to either range or not have as big of a move. And then when Bitcoin does end up going down for that higher low on the daily, Sol USD tether pairing could just end up going down a lot more. That's how I always interpret those pairings, right? If the Bitcoin and ETH pairing aren't going to be strong, then when we do have those pullbacks, which we always get, oftentimes that's what destroys alts the most. Because Bitcoin can go down 2%, and you'll see your favorite alt go down 8%. You're sitting there like, oh wow, how'd that happen? But here is interesting on the 2-day, and I'm glad we're on the 2-day now, because what we see is we actually are breaking out on the 2-day. You see, we broke on that last 2-day closure on January 3rd. We actually reclaimed the 382, and then even we back tested into now. held that 216 level, an area we've been talking about as kind of my spot that we really need to hold and actually reclaim for bulls to actually get some kind of momentum here. And what we see now is we are basing off that 382. To me now, I don't see why, sold tether pairing won't go and try to test, closer to this major high that we formed before breaking down right around the 618, currently right around 239. To me, that seems like a logical point for SOL USD, assuming here it holds that 216 level. Let's go to, I think it was the weekly. We'll go here. So the weekly is interesting because, what we see here is essentially us reclaiming back into the blue zone. Technically, the next target would be up to that median. For me, getting back into my meme range, even without the HPDR, would give us technically at the target 259. And that 259 zone is going to be a massive area for SOL. That's the previous cycle high area. That's currently where we ended up locally topping before rejecting and going all the way down to 177. But then that's also where that weekly median is. Currently, it's slightly a little higher. And that is something to note. So my meme line, the high is at 259. This median on the weekly is at $268.54. So if we end up hopping back above the 382, closing a weekly above 216, holding that into support, I don't see why we're not going to end up going to that 259. But all eyes on that zone because, we essentially need to get back above that weekly median for an actual big break on SOL. Can see in doing so, that's going to take us closer to that $350 level, which would be a pretty massive move even from that point. Even just taking it where the median is now, assuming it doesn't move down, that still would be a nice 30% move. So that is an area where, even if you just want to sit on your hands and patiently wait, it still could give a nice trade, assuming we do reclaim that 259 area. Let me see here. Another point on why 259 is really important for SOL tether pairing is essentially because of where that median is. We can see since we lost that monthly median in June, we've steadily been under it. Even on that major rally up when we went all the way down from $111 all the way up to $264 on a wick basis, we essentially got caught on that monthly median, slightly rejected it, and then it shot up really nicely all the way up to that 288 in December. We see now it's come nicely down and it's tapping right around that previous cycle high, right around that 259 level. This looks a lot kind of like that level where Bitcoin was at, right around that 2021 market cycle high, right around that 69,000. That just kept keeping price down for many months until we finally got that range breakout that took us to 100,000 very fast. I do believe once SOL actually reclaims on Tether, the Tether pairing 259 on a monthly closure and keeps holding it, that could be what triggers a major move on SOL. And this will keep moving down, but we do see, even with, SOL BTC's monthly volatility read the lowest it's ever been, we also have it on its Tether pairing here. It being the lowest and it's still contracting, whereas SOL BTC is breaking above the moving average. This is still contracting, and actually this could be giving a volatility setup, assuming this keeps the posturing and keeps going down, maybe into February or March, this way all the way back down closer to the 15%, giving us a major setup on SOL USDT on the monthly, something that is very rare to get on, especially a monthly time frame. We see though that just like with what we viewed on the weekly, that median here is solidifying this resistance to me. So, if we end up reclaiming that 216 level on like a weekly, a 2-week, a 5-day, that's going to be really good, momentum for bulls to at least take us to the top of the range, which is around 259. Bears are essentially going to try to reject us around here and not try to break this wick high. Breaking this wick high most likely then will be the spark of the breakout, because then we are then basically approaching that monthly median, and if we get back above it, it's going to be a really good sign. If we see here, when we got back above that monthly median in May of 2023, We retested it here, and then that slowly just is what sparked the move all the way up from $30 up to $200. Sol, really does like to be above that median on the monthly. There's not many times where it has, because granted, this chart is fairly new compared to other things, like XRP, Litecoin, things like that. But getting back above there will be the big break, and it is funny to see that the next target is in the $600 zone. It's pretty massive to me. 259. This takes us to the median. $400. It's interesting because if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. The 2-month, I'm not really getting much on the 2-month here. Again, just kind of like this is going to take time, but getting back above the 216, that's the spot on the 2-month. We do see, yes, we are under the median on the 2-month, which, is not a good sign, of course. But the nice part about that is, it is sitting at $400. So assuming we do, on the lower time frames, hold 216, trek up to 259, do you think once we get back above 259, that could be what takes us? And I won't be mad if Sol goes to $400. That definitely won't upset me. That'll be still a pretty massive move. Let me see here. Let me check the 5-day. I think the 5-day had something. Yeah. So then lastly, and right here on the 5-day, I think it's very telling because, the 5-day here is actually giving us another 5-day volatility setup. And remember, there's only been, or that might have been on the Bitcoin pairing, there's only been one zero volatility read on the 5-day on Sol USDT. That did give us a nice move, of course. Once it started expanding, that basically gives a 54% move in 40 days. Really not bad. Right now, we're currently still contracting. We're not really seeing this move. It's more like plateauing. What would be nice is for this to actually keep coming down. Give us another zero volatility read. Print another Hamas setup on Sol. That would be a really good sign for me, because then it's like, how is all these time frames, if we do break 259 and volatility isn't really supporting it, like we're not really getting a lot of volatility setups per se. If the 5-day does brew one, which currently it is because it's under the 15%. But if it can brew another zero volatility read on Sol USDT, that could be what sparks that move to that $400 move area, which, that $400 area is right around that 78.6%. We break the 382, we go to the 618. That's at $326. We've already then made a new all-time high for Sol. At that point, then I don't see why we would stop, considering the monthly is at the lowest volatility read, and then I would be gauging this big gap up to the 78.6%, right around that $400, which is right around the 2-month median. Yeah, but so this is actually quite interesting to see. We do see though that we are pressing, slightly above that 5-day median, which is a good sign, because getting back above there, which is closing in 4 days, would mean that, yeah, we got back above 216. We popped back. We reclaimed the 5-day median, something that we've been under since December, and this whole way down. And then the next target would be right around the 268, which would mean that we are breaking that 259 level. And then at that point, if we're testing the top of the blue zone with the volatility setup, yeah, we really do then run the risk of us breaking out to the upside. And then maybe then that's when we actually do see, the $320, $400 Solana. Yeah, so, overall, Sol BTC right now is at resistance. Sol ETH is currently at resistance with pretty bad higher time frame candlesticks. So into this month, you're really going to want to see Sol bulls essentially step in, and actually work on making Sol ETH close the next monthly green. Most importantly, back above that major rejection wick high, and then Sol BTC actually closing green, popping back above that level that we talked about, which is essentially right above that 228 level. If that can happen and Sol tether pairing does keep holding the 216 level, then we're really gonna start seeing the 5-day expand nicely. Assuming then that 216 level gets reclaimed, this could lead into the 5-day median getting reclaimed. And if the 5-day median gets reclaimed, then this would give us a nice 5-day setup on SOL USDT with obviously the lowest monthly volatility read we've had. So we know a big move can occur on SOL. It's not topped out on volatility. It's not at extreme volatility reads, even though SOL is at $221. So you're really going to want to gauge this next 5-day. You know, essentially, you're going to want to get back above 224.29, or just call it, you know, essentially the last high right around here before we broke down. If we can get back above there, then that means that we've held the 5-day EMA9. We've now back above the 5-day median, and we're now basing off this rejection high again. That is right around $224. Doing so then would give me the next target to 259, if not all the way up to the 382 at 268. There, that's going to be a really major decision point for SOL, because we're just going to be really mindful that we have the weekly median, but most importantly, we have that monthly median. And that monthly median, reclaiming that would give us a $600 target. But, you know, most people seeing that when SOL's at $200 will get bricked up and be like, oh, wow, that's you know, that's a 3x almost from where price is at. But that tells me that this spot then is going to be a major area for bears to actually step in and reject us, because they're not going to want us to just slingshot up to 600, even a $400 SOL, something we saw here on the 2-month here, 409. So we are going to see major rejection at 259. And if you are short bias, in my opinion, the easy short is just simply to sit on your hands and wait for the extremity high. That way, then you can get confirmation that, yeah, we're rallying up to that 259 previous cycle high, but then also we're hitting that monthly median. And if we get some rejection, that'll be the spot where, you know, SOL will want to roll over if you are a bear. But for now, you know, I'm cautiously bullish on this. It looks quite nice, assuming, you know, the Bitcoin and ETH pair can actually break the levels I talked about. Then, yeah, I really don't see why SOL wouldn't go back up to 259, assuming it holds 216. And that would still be a, you know, we're talking like a 18 to 19% move still on Solana. So definitely something should be on my radar, your radar, and it could give an easy trade, assuming it does hold 216.
I think
great. Yes, absolutely. This is great news for everyone. Fuck me, Monday, New Year, everything. No, excellent. Solamis is looking good. I mean, it is in a like you always say, in a precarious spot where it's either gonna fucking take those previous highs, like the lower highs, out, or it's just gonna reject and go straight to shit. But everything looks like it should be fine. No, everything looks good.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it beautiful that Bitcoin is breaking out to give us our gift for the Three Kings Day?
It's in Mexico, dude. Los Tres Reyes Magos. That shit's fucking fire. You guys know that, right? Like, yeah, we're definitely, yeah.
We're doing an event tonight for it.
Of course,
we already got the cakes.
Good. You mean the La Rosca?
Yeah, we got 2 of them.
You know, there's a massive. By the way, there's a massive resentment in Mexico. Every time there's this time of the year, there's people that go to Costco. I think it's Costco, and they just bulk buy all of the roscas. So everyone's mad because those guys are going to resell them. And every year is the same conversation of people getting mad. And it makes it to the news, by the way. This makes it to the news. The news goes to Costco and films the people buying by the bulk and going like, do you think this is right? And by the way, everyone saying that it's not right. This is what buying and selling anything is. There's very few people that create a brand new product. Like very few. Everyone is buying and reselling shit. Huh?
They don't do one per person. I went to this bakery and they would only sell me 2 of them.
That's what I'm saying, because they don't want to have other people taking the benefit out of them. Fucking incredible. All righty, we're doing Geo, and then afterwards we're doing the Bitcoin.
Cool. I'll start with Bitcoin. You can do Geo.
I'll do this one.
GEO.
GEO. Yes, sir. Let me just do this one real quick. And I was going to tell you something else, but I'm forgetting now. Great. This is just great news, Bob. Okay. I'll be right back. Estamos viendo Solamis, damas y caballeros. Solamis en la temporalidad diaria. Lo voy a poner rápidamente empezando. Aquí la cosa es, honestamente, si estás viendo Solana el día de hoy, la temporalidad diaria, en mi opinión, es de los mejores gráficos porque te explica perfectamente en qué zona estamos. Vienes de crear estos máximos, máximos más bajos, máximos más bajos, máximos más bajos, máximos más bajos, y obviamente tienes todos estos bajos más bajos. ¿Ok? ¿Qué es lo que se rompió en todo este juego? Que llegaste a este fondo y empezaste a crear nuevos mínimos más altos, mínimos más altos, mínimos más altos, mínimos más altos. Eso nos dice, porque no sabemos todavía, ¿no? En fin, para poder saber si esto está roto, esta tendencia bajista en la que estaba Solana está rota, tenemos que oficialmente llevarnos el 234 entre las patas, que es este máximo. Una vez que veas ya Solana, obviamente el primero que vas a buscar son estos, en los 226, pero importante en la zona donde está. Si nos acercamos un poco más tal cual en la diaria donde estamos, pueden ver que estamos justamente en esta zona. Aquí debería haber algo de resistencia. ¿Por qué? Déjenme la dibuja para que la vean sencillamente. Debería haber resistencia porque aquí encuentras cómo fue soporte, 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 resistencia y después te dio, espérame, la pondría acá. En realidad, justo donde está el precio, porque tuviste este rechazo, tuviste este soporte, esto se volvió por básicamente un cierre nada más, se volvió resistencia, después se volvió una vez más soporte, y una vez más se rompió y al pito. Este es un área muy importante. El 221 es un número muy importante para Solana. Primero queremos poder aguantar acá, después poder aguantar los 225 y quebrarlos a la alza, y después los 234. Así de fácil vamos a saber cuando esto se empiece a ver bastante bien y que vaya a continuar la subida. Estamos a punto de ver un cruce plateado también. Pueden ver mi promedio del 21 y el 55, que es el amarillo, y el naranja, están a punto de cruzar. Eso es un cruce plateado. Eso es bastante bueno. Con eso dicho y hecho, porque es lo que está agarrándonos a todos por los pelos en este momento, aquí tenemos Solana USDT, el par con USDT en la trimestral. Obviamente esta vela faltan 2 meses, 26 días para poder cerrarla, es bastante tiempo, pero estamos en una zona bastante buena. Siempre y cuando estemos por encima del 202, esto se empieza a ver bien porque es el cierre más alto que hemos tenido en toda la historia en una de estas velas, muy por encima del promedio del 9, lo que nos hace pensar que esto es bastante, se empieza a ver bastante bien. Volatilidad no nos da nada, lo pueden ver acá, es simplemente una palomita de Nike invertida. No. Y para los que tal vez no sepan, no significa nada. Y quiero agarrar un paréntesis rápido. Hay gente que me está preguntando, Tere, me estás preguntando, Julio, me estás preguntando el HPDR, que cómo lo instalo. ¿Ya lo compraron? Es la primera pregunta. Por favor, díganme en el chat. Perdón, esto es el chat de Elite Trading Academy. Por favor, díganme si lo compraron. Ok, vamos a continuar. Ya vimos la de 3 meses, no tenemos setups de absolutamente ni madres. En la mensual, interesante, empezamos a ver que la volatilidad está yendo y está en el punto más bajo en el que ha estado en toda su historia, en el 22.64%, lo pueden ver por acá. ¿Qué nos dice esto? Que hay un setup que está calentándose. Puede ser alcista o puede ser bajista, pero algo está calentándose para un movimiento explosivo, como la diarrea del tío Salo. Güey, deja de decir pendejadas, perdón. Ok. Tenemos eso puesto, dicho y hecho, y ahora voy a ponerles el HPDR rápidamente a todos ustedes para que lo puedan ver. Vamos a quitar la volatilidad, ya la analizamos, sabiendo que tenemos un setup. ¿Qué es lo que estamos viendo? Estamos viendo que estamos por debajo de la media. La media, estar por debajo de la media, y hemos estado por debajo de la media desde junio del 2024. Venimos y retesteamos aquí con un velazo en noviembre, rechazo, y estamos abajo de ella, pero aguantando el promedio de la 9. ¿Qué es lo que queremos? Definitivamente poder aguantar esta línea meme en los 187, porque por ahí es donde el promedio de la 9 va a estar pasando, y queremos retomar este nivel, que coincide con nuestra línea meme por acá en los 260. ¿Por qué? Porque una vez que llegues acá, o te va a rechazar y te vas a ir para abajo, y este fue simplemente un alto más bajo, lo pueden ver, ¿no? Porque no sería tan alto como este, sería un alto más bajo por acá, si es que nos rechaza la vela. Y si eso llega a pasar, vamos a ir a la parte baja del 32.8% en 122. Pero si podemos, porque lo estamos intentando, ya lo intentamos una vez, y si volvemos a intentar y podemos romper la media del canal, vamos a tener un viaje gratis hasta la zona de arriba, que está en los 632. Ahora, esto no se va a dar instantáneamente, esto es un gráfico mensual, son más difíciles de poder predecir, simplemente porque es tanto tiempo que tiene que pasar y tantas cosas pueden pasar en medio y tantos movimientos se pueden dar. Pero nos acercamos un poco más, vamos a la de 2 semanas. En la de 2 semanas podemos ver un poco de lo mismo, aunque estamos por encima de la media. La media está justamente en nuestra línea meme de los $187. Estamos por encima del 9 y ahora hemos encontrado y esperamos que hayamos encontrado un fondito por acá y podamos ir a buscar esta zona de los 283, creando otro nuevo máximo histórico para Solana. Eso sería lo que se ve en la de 2 semanas, sobre todo cuando tenemos la volatilidad continúa en expansión una vez más. Después de esta zona, yo pondría que acá está continuando y es lo que estamos viendo. No es tan fuerte, no es un setup que viene desde abajo, aunque el original sí, viene abajo el 15%, nada más se dio como una vuelta, un respiro y ahora va a continuar para arriba. Estando en 31% la de 2 semanas, viéndolo acá, yo creo que podemos decir que tenemos una alta posibilidad de poder buscar los 283 en esta temporalidad. Vamos a ver en la semanal. Uy, la semanal nos da confluencia por acá. Tenemos nuestra media en los 270, que también son un máximo histórico. Estamos entrando en la parte azul, en la zona azul, que es el 38.2%. Y esto nos dice que muy probablemente vayamos a retestear la media 268, que es un máximo histórico para los precios de Solana, si no me equivoco, sí. Así que vamos a ver si se puede dar eso. Tenemos resistencia importante en los 252, pero en la semanal se empieza a ver bien. No tenemos un setup de volatilidad en la semanal. Nos acercamos más, vemos la de 3 días. En la de 3 días estamos por encima. Recuerda, estamos haciendo el front run del gráfico semanal. Estamos por encima de la media, bastante bueno, y vamos a ir a buscar la parte alta, que está en los 258. Eso nos pondría en una excelente posición. Con un cierre por acá arriba en los 258 nos daría el cierre más alto que ha tenido Solana en toda la historia, en la diaria, y eso nos debería llevar al 50, si no al 61%. Por ahí otra vez los $300 siguen apareciendo. Estamos por encima del 9, el 21, nos agarramos del 55 para poder rebotar, que se encuentra donde el 50% en este momento, junto con esta línea meme, por ahí de los 187, y ahora estamos viendo esta expansión de precio. Con eso dicho y hecho, volatilidad no nos está dando ningún setup. Pero en la diaria podemos ver que estamos ingresando en el 61.8%, lo que nos debería llevar al 78.6%, y eso nos debería llevar a 238. Eso básicamente elimina todos los obstáculos que tenemos antes, que les había dicho, y eso nos pone en una excelente posición donde mínimo sabemos que Solana no solamente está haciendo nuevos máximos más bajos, altos más bajos, sino que está rompiendo oficialmente toda la tendencia bajista y está buscando crear una nueva tendencia fresca alcista, a la alza. En la diaria tenemos este cruce plateado que está a punto de darse. No, ya se dio. El 21 está por encima del 55. Tiene que aguantar el precio por acá o continuar subiendo. Y además tienes volatilidad expandiendo agresivamente en 76.19%, lo que me dice que se ve bastante probable este movimiento. Yendo a Sol BTC, obviamente tenemos que poder superar este nivel en el punto 0022. ¿Razón por qué? Porque esto nos estaría creando un alto más bajo y es lo que no estamos buscando. Estamos viendo que creamos fondo por acá y lo que nos gustaría es comenzar a crear esta estructura y poder empujar a la alza. Pero el primer obstáculo fuerte va a estar justamente acá en 0022. Queremos definitivamente romper eso y testearlo a la alza. Otra cosa que quería decir rápido en Solana USDT, en la diaria, me encanta cuando vemos todos los promedios juntarse de golpe. Porque cuando los ves, déjeme quito mi arco iris. Porque cuando ves todo junto, el rebote a la alza o a la baja es mucho más agresivo que cuando simplemente testeas estas cosas. Ve, cuando se juntan y tienes los, ¿cómo se llama? El retesteo y luego la expansión, estás hablando de, aquí se juntaron todos y los rompimos todos. De 80%. Este no es un setup tan bueno, pero me gusta verlo y yo creo que eso nos puede llevar definitivamente a intentar mínimo buscar estos máximos que habíamos logrado antes. Así que Solana se ve alcista. Lo primero que tenemos que hacer es asegurarnos poder romper los 235, pero el primer objetivo va a ser los 226. Estamos en 222. Sigue empujando, volatilidad apoyando. se ve bastante bien. Vamos a ver si continúa y tantito y atención acá en este rango. No queremos perder los 216 a la baja y definitivamente no barrer estos mínimos, pero yo creo que justamente los 211, 215 es donde nos queremos quedar para poder continuar a la alza. Definitivamente continuar por encima del promedio del 9 sería muy importante para mí en los 208. Ahí lo tienen. What's next?
Geo?
Geo.
Is it this one?
Geology, geography.
Geometry.
Oh, fuck math.
Geology. Geometric penises.
We take the geometry of how small it is, if it can be viewed or not with a microscope.
Did you ever see the South Park one where they're measuring digs?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And they're like, where are you measuring from? Remember that the mass is equal to the girth of the ball. Like, and then the measuring from the taint all the way up. You cannot measure from the taint. You need to do it from the bottom of the balls. What do you mean?
Or the one where Cartman puts that shit over Butter's nose and makes him look like Hitler.
Oh, yeah. Literally shit.
The dirty Sanchez.
Yeah.
Let me start from the quarterly. So if we start from the quarterly, we are getting to very, very extreme areas. We're right now over the 97.5%. And if you go by the probabilities on the HPDR bands, you have 2.5% chance of continuation from here. So this is the most highest probability area that you would look for a pullback. Very likely, very, very likely that you end up pulling back from here and you don't close over this area. High probability short area. High of this candle right now is $29.86. High of this candle is $29.41. So if you were like more aggressive, what you would want to do if you were trying to trade this at all, like you would absolutely not want to long this area. Probabilities are against you. You have a 97.5% chance of being wrong if you long it here. The more higher probability is you would short it here, your stop loss would be the high of this candle, maybe a little bit higher, maybe somewhere around $30. And if you notice that you have a fresh silver cross to the upside right now on the quarterly, we have still yet to retest this 9 EMA. So you would short it right here. Your stop loss would be somewhere around $30, and then your take profit one would be somewhere around the 5 EMA, around like $21.33, and then number two would be somewhere around this 88.3 once the 9 EMA rises, and that'd be around $18.13. So if you're wrong by about, let's see, from here to $30, 3%. If you're right, your take profit one is about 26, 27%. Number two is about 37, 38%. Insane RR in your favor if you were to short here instead of longing here. Then if we look right now on our quarterly momentum is at literally 100%. Volatility is at literally 100%. The moving averages have not quite caught up yet, but they're pretty close to catching up. And it's much, 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 much higher probability that you end up pulling back than continuation. Especially the monthly, we're getting the same. Oh my God. Monthly, we're getting this. Oh my, why does it keep disconnecting me from TradingView?
I don't know. Mine says that we're disconnected from Twitter, but it shows like everyone's here. It's weird.
Monthly is at the 95% on the HPTR. We have two rejections currently of the. Actually, you can technically call it three rejections of the 95% on the HPTR, and from here you only have a 5% chance of continuation. So it's the same idea as from the quarterly, where you would take a short here, and your stop loss would be at that $30 number, or your take profits would be 21.33 and 18, like roughly 18. Insane risk reward in your favor, like one of those extremity trades that if you're wrong, you're barely wrong, and if you're right bigly. And we also have a silver cross to the upside on the monthly, and we have yet to retest that 9 EMA on the monthly. Right now, 9 EMA sits at $21, which is at our $21.33 first take profit. We look at right now at our monthly momentum, that's also a pretty high level, sitting at 94%. Volatility sitting at 94%. The jewel starting to curve back around right off that pink fast moving average, and we're curving upwards with the white neutral coloring. On this next open, we're likely to shift into cyan. But just because we have a buy signal on the jewel doesn't mean that we can't pull back. It's actually significantly more likely to end up pulling back, making a higher low, and using that higher low to spring upwards towards newer highs on this rally. But right now, the most likely move is a pullback. Go towards the 2-week, we're also at the 97.5%. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 rejections of the 100%. So as of right now, like maybe we could possibly go up. We only have a 2.5% chance. What's more likely is that these highs hold, and then we end up breaking down from there towards our 21s and then 18s. Momentum is also at basically 100% with volatility at almost 100%. We're sitting at like 98.7% and 98.7% of momentum and volatility. On the weekly now, 38.2% has caught back up in price. What's going to be the confirmation for me that we're going to end up breaking down towards those 21s and 18s is if we lose this weekly median. Right now, the weekly median sits at $29.10. So we're just slightly below the median. If we do lose that median, though, we're going to very likely come back down towards this 21 EMA and this 88.3, just right around like 22s. Probably go a little bit lower towards that 21 area right now, which is bottom 95% on the HPDR. Right now, momentum is getting the full reset where you went to the 100% range, and just like volatility, where momentum is at basically it's at 1% now, and volatility is at 1.1%. What's more likely to happen from here, though, especially if we lose the median, is that momentum is going to break to the downside, with volatility breaks to the upside on the weekly, and that'll fuel the move towards the downside, towards those 21 targets and the 18. Same thing with the 5-day, with a full reset on momentum and volatility. Volatility is not quite reset yet on the 5-day, neither momentum. But on the next 5-day open, it's very likely going to be fully reset. And then if you look at the jewel is giving us a God mode sell signal with the oscillator curving back around within the critical zone and flipping to the dark blue sell signal. So everything is right now pointed towards a pullback. Same thing with the 2-day. 2-day is currently rejecting the bullish control zone, starting to flip back down. The volatility is starting to flip back down. And we're currently just over the 38.2%. But if we close like this is not going to be the bullish close you're looking for. This would be a hanging man after a move up, and very likely a reversal pattern that would end up bringing us back down towards this probably 100 EMA. And that 100 EMA sits right at that $18.30 number. Daily right now is also getting 2 rejections of the bullish control zone, with volatility starting to flip down, and we're also putting in that same hanging man candle that we had from the 2-day. So what we're looking for is for this candle, if you're short bias, to not flip back up and turn green. Because if it does turn green, then you're more likely to continue towards the upside a little bit before you end up getting that pullback. Right now, as it looks, it's still more likely that this current high holds and we end up getting the pullback. Same thing with the 4 hours now in bullish control, but it's getting to pretty high areas right now. And on the HPDR bands, we're approaching the 88.3%. So we are getting to very extreme levels, much more likely that we end up getting a pullback than continuation. Check the RSI. Ding.
I was going to tell you, I don't call it the RSI anymore because I'm a pro. I call it the RSI. That's how you pronounce it properly. RSI.
Nothing on that. Is that a higher high on the RSI? I gotta zoom in. Yeah, it is. We are getting to several periods of 100% on BBWP as well, which also goes along with the idea of a pullback from here. Damn, I hate it when there's no bearish divergences accompanying extreme levels on momentum on the HPDR.
They want to make sure you don't know what's going on. Damn.
Yeah, because if there were bearish divergences and all of that was together, then we had a head and shoulders, then it's kind of less likely that you get that pullback.
But
Because
now it's
everybody's
being a
seeing
dick.
that. Now we have multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence on the daily, which is still technically active as long as we're above $27.71. Volatility is shifting up with that hidden bullish divergence. So that is a little bit on against the idea of the pullback, but we've already hit the bullish control zone right now. So This could be the easy target of the divergence. Our next target, assuming we close over, what is this number here? $28.88. Our next target would be the critical zone. Actually, no, to hit the critical zone, you would need more than that. You would have to close over our current highs, which would invalidate the short anyways at $30. And that would take us towards the critical zone, which is at $35.21. And 4 hour nothing. Switch the momentum chart. I can already tell what people are saying because I've had somebody comment that on the Discord a couple of months ago. It's like, oh, this guy can only do it with multiple indicators. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but I got him. So it's like people are complaining like this guy only won a gold medal because he was able to train like this and like that. Well, yeah. So what's the point?
I got a 30-inch dildo for you to eat. On the quarterly, we are at 100% volatility. Moving average is 78%, so it's not quite caught up yet. And the momentum is going to be pointed to the upside, and we're going to be entering into the critical zone as long as we're above $20.61. But you got to remember, quarterly, anything could happen in the meantime. It's a 3-month candle. A lot of fuckery can happen in 3 months. On the monthly, we are at many periods of 100%. The moving average is at 85%, starting to catch up. Monthly is projecting getting out of bullish control, starting to flip back up, starting to re-enter into bullish control, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $22.84. Weekly is at many two weekly is at many periods of 100% volatility. Moving average is now caught up. They're both at 100%, and we're very close to getting contraction on the 2 week. And momentum is going to be continue to be pointed up as long as we're above $25.44. But the longer that we're at higher these levels of volatility, the higher that this momentum pivot is going to go with every single close. So what's more likely now is after the next 11 days and 5 hours, this pivot is going to go up. And what we'd like to see it is for this pivot, if you're short bias, is to go somewhere around $30. Once we see that and volatility starts contracting, that is what's basically going to confirm to you that you're going to get that pullback for 21s first. Maybe we get a bounce there. Then if that failed, somewhere around 18. Weekly is now, this is exactly what we're looking for on the 2 week. Where now the pivot has gone significantly to the upside, and now we're very close to, I know we've already started contracting, where the volatility oscillator has started dropping below the moving average. And now once we get it closed, it's going to confirm the volatility contraction. And momentum is now going to stay flip down if we close below 28.66. Now the number is catching very, very close to price action. So the next 4 days and 5 hours, bears have that much time to turn the price below 28.66, and then that's going to be the start of the pullback. 5 days also now, is it? Yep, 5 days also now contracting on the volatility as well, and now we're below the momentum pivot. Where if we close in the next 2 days and 5 hours below $29.13, momentum is going to turn to the downside. We're going to have our lower high, and then we would have to target at first is 21 EMA, which is around like $22.50, and then below there this 55, which is going to rise, and that's going to be around $18. 2 days now getting some volatility expansion after many periods of 100%. We're flipping up on the momentum. We're maintaining the bullish control zone, and we're going to be pointed to the upside as long as we're above $27.90. Please do not bite my feet, sir. I'm talking to Alex, by the way, not the cat.
Of course. He's into really weird shit.
Daily is now expanding on volatility after many periods of 100%. Then we came down for a reset. But while we are pointed up on momentum, we are getting to pretty extreme areas. We're just about to enter into the critical zone, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $27.85. 4 hour is now getting expansion from 2 periods of 0% volatility, maintaining the bullish control zone and flipping back up into the critical zone as long as we're above $28.56. But 2 days now giving us the double, as Crown calls it, the double derp of death, the two red dots of bearish divergence on the stochastic momentum indicator. So if you go all the way up to the higher time frames, like the quarterly and the monthly, we are nearing extreme areas on the HPDR bands, getting to the 97.5%, 95%. You have a much higher percentage chance of a pullback from there than you do continuation. And the safe short will be somewhere around where we are now, and your stop loss would be around $30. Because if that's invalidated, then the divergence is going to take over, the bullish divergence, and you're going to continue upwards to $35. But what's more likely is that you end up pulling back, and you end up tapping somewhere around that 21 EMA, which is somewhere around $22.50 to $21. And then below there, that 55 EMA, which is about $18.50 to $18.30. If you go a little bit lower, to give you an idea of a short-term bounce, which we are getting right now, because our momentum is starting to shift back up from the lower time frames with volatility supporting it. But the higher time frames would eventually take over because you're getting to such extreme areas that this bounce is likely to fail. And then the higher time frames would take over, and you would reject a little bit lower than where our current highs are for this rally. And we probably end up rolling over from there with our weekly momentum starting to shift to the downside, 5-day momentum starting to shift to the downside, which brings us down to those lower targets before we can get continuation on the rally while the HPDR bands ranges move up. Then probably that takes, since we're looking at it on like a quarterly,
It's a
probably
big timeline,
probably a solid couple of months before the ranges move up. Then we can get some solid expansion back towards the upside and break those $30 highs. I'm wrong if we get a close over $30 though. Monthly close over $30, and I'm wrong.
Thank you, sir. Perfecto. I'll presento this one. All righty.
Gracio.
No, gracias a usted. Estamos viendo Geo. Voy a ponerle el trimestral. Antes que nada, les quiero enseñar básicamente la tabla. No sé cuándo la hicimos, pero los niveles están muy bien puestos, definitivamente. Interesante. Ahora, ¿qué es lo que estamos viendo? Estamos viendo, y esto es literalmente el de todas las jugadas asquerosas del planeta en una acción. ¿Por qué? Porque ni siquiera voy a empezar ahí. Tienes máximos y obviamente han estado cayendo todos y tienes mínimos más bajos de todo lo que había logrado antes. Rompiste este mínimo y obviamente con el máximo había roto el máximo, pero después ya no pudiste acá, ya no pudiste acá, ya no pudiste acá. Y ahora, para dar otro argumento, esto podría ser tranquilamente un alto más bajo. O continuación, lo estás viendo, es una vela verde, todo el mundo va a decir, güey, ¿cómo? Esto debería ser muy alcista. Puede que sí. Vamos a ver si volatilidad está diciéndonos algo. Estamos en extremos, pero a esto le gusta estar en doble extremo, no tienes problema alguno y has visto lo que ha logrado. Entonces, por ahora mínimo en la trimestral no tenemos un setup de volatilidad. Lo que sí es esto. Esto va a revelar bastante. Pueden ver que en el HPDR estamos ya en el 97.5%, entrando al 100%. Esto literalmente te dice que solamente hay 2.5% de chances de poder llegar a los 35. Solamente existe 2.5% de probabilidades de llegar al 35.43 en la temporalidad de 3 meses. Si nos acercamos un poco más a la mensual, podemos ver que estamos en 95, justo tapeando el 95% del HPDR. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que solamente existe 5% de probabilidades de que esto vaya a continuar subiendo. Ahora, ¿puede llegar al 97.5%? Sí, no dudamos que sí. Estás ya en extremos en la mensual habías tenido volatilidad en extremos hasta el principio y ahora los tienes otra vez. Y al mismo tiempo, la volatilidad aún no está contrayendo, está muy por encima del promedio. El promedio está en 85 y la volatilidad sigue en 100%. Lo que nos puede decir que podría haber continuación en cortas temporalidades. Vamos acercándonos un poco más a la de 2 semanas. ¡Uy, caliente, padre! Suena que 33, 34 es el límite y eso es donde estaba por debajo del máximo anterior. Sobre todo viéndolo en una de 2 semanas. Ves que estamos en volatilidad en extremos, la volatilidad nos está contrayendo, todavía está en 100% y puede durar así bastante tiempo y esto es lo que lo ha llevado a máximos. Es una acción bastante interesante. Geo. Casas Geo. No sé si sean casas Geo o que sea. American Private Prisons. Ah, bueno, son Uy, no, esto va a continuar subiendo. These are prisons, dude. I didn't realize that.
The prison company, no wonder it's going straight up.
That's why it's going straight up. Nah, never mind. My analysis went from like what you were saying. It's going to take a pull back and maybe revert. It's going to the moon, everyone. Buy it.
If you can profitize people being put in prison, you make a lot of fucking money because they get free slave labor.
And it's about to go down, son. It's about to go down. Even fucking Justin Trudeau left. Did you see?
Oh yeah, Castro's son is out.
By the way, why? He just realized after all this time, well, I did take Canada to shit. Now I should quit. Like, what's going on?
But he fucked the country and dipped.
Then he just left.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, it seems like that's what a lot of people are doing, which means big changes coming ahead, right? Because in a lot of countries, a lot of that is happening. In the UK, they're about to have re-elections. France just had. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming, boys. Get ready for the fucking and the drums.
Canada's about to be controlled by the conservatives for the first time in a long time.
Canada's going to become a U.S. fucking state.
I hope not. We have enough to deal with California.
Dude, we have plenty of retards here in California, including yours truly. We don't need Canada now to have that. Ok. Entonces, Geo, que es una empresa de prisiones, y diría normalmente, no, güey, ¿cómo va a continuar subiendo esto? Simplemente viendo el HPDR diría que no, pero sabiendo que son prisiones, de verdad, suena loco, pero es algo muy real en Estados Unidos. Bueno, ya el gráfico semanal nos empieza a contar una historia muy interesante. Estamos literalmente abajo de la media está en el 29.10. Definitivamente queremos cerrar esta vela en 4 días y 5 horas por encima de la media e ir a retestear la zona del 31, que es lo que creemos podría y tiene más probabilidad de pasar. Viendo volatilidad está por fin contrayendo. Lo pueden ver acá. Cuando tienes ya por fin a la línea de colores por debajo de la blanca, es contracción, está en 97 y 96%. Esto ya es contracción de volatilidad, por lo que esta vela probablemente sea una correccioncilla y si vayamos a esta zona en el 31.09. Lo que tiene más probabilidad de jugar en este momento y sobre todo si nos acercamos ya a la diaria es, date cuenta que todavía tiene y está expandiendo volatilidad del nivel más bajo en la diaria de todo el 2024. No. Ok, ni siquiera de todo el 2024. Pero viene un buen setup. Está por encima del 15%, está en 26%. Lo están viendo por acá. ¿Dónde estamos exactamente? Nos venimos a precalentar de la media. La rompimos al alza, rompimos el 38.2%. Nos fuimos al 50, buscando el 61.8% y ahí nos rechazó. Y esto se junta el 38% con mi línea meme. Es más, la voy a bajar para juntarlo aquí, que en la diaria se ve mejor. Ahí está. Y aquí podemos ver, estamos por encima de todo, estamos cayendo. ¿Qué es lo que estamos buscando si somos alcistas en esto? Definitivamente ir a buscar estos 29.69 con un cierre por encima de esta línea meme, que es donde está el 38.2%. Y eso sería en el 28.97, casi $29. Teniendo un cierre por encima de $29, va a haber continuación acá. Volatilidad, vamos a ver si la volatilidad está expandiendo de un segundo, no. 15%. Volatilidad oficialmente expandió ahí. Déjenme ver esto. En la verde, exactamente. Y la volatilidad continúa, por lo que nos dice que probablemente vayamos a ver continuación. ¿Qué tanta? Si pones la parte de hasta acá, te puedes dar cuenta que en la diaria, un segundo, no estás creando máximos históricos aunque llegues al 97.5%. Lo que nosotros pensamos va a ser el movimiento interesante por acá, porque, de nuevo, esto trae todo el momentum del mundo y cuando meto lógica en algo que me caga los huevos, honestamente, cada quien haga lo que quiera como pueda, pero cuando meto lógica en algo, me destruye. Y la razón por qué me destruye es porque la lógica no funciona tanto en el mercado, aunque en cosas grandes sí, como en tendencias grandes. Esta es una de esas tendencias a largo plazo. Básicamente lo que yo estaría buscando es tener cierres diarios por encima del 30.98. Eso, una vez barriendo el 34.18, que era el máximo de antes, me va a hacer pensar que vamos para arriba. Lo que yo haría antes que todo esto es probablemente abrir un short acá en los 30.93. Tu invalidación está justamente acá en los 35.50 y poder cargarlo hasta acá, porque vean todo lo que tienes aquí abajo. Son demasiadas cosas y eso simplemente te lo está dando movimiento a largo plazo. Lo vimos ya en la diaria. Por más que estemos un poco lejos de la zona del 97%, el precio no está más arriba del 100%. Necesita algo de consolidación esto. Entonces va a necesitar respirar y probablemente reajustar. Pero ahí es lo que estamos viendo en Geo. Tiene cara de que va a ser más sencillo hacerle un corto en extremos que un largo en este momento. Buena. Alrighty, what's next, boys?
Bitcoin.
The corn.
The corn that's breaking out. Some big things today. Some big things.
Bigly thingsy.
Gonna be a big week, as Barry would say.
Let's do it.
Or a big wick.
Or a big wick, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, Bitcoin's looking amazing. Let's backtrack because, you know, the last few weeks was an aggressive downside move. You know, we talked about the EMA 9 on the weekly being a major area of support, and it again acted as support. And so now what we see is we are breaking back above that $99,300 level. It's a very crucial level. Why? Because not only is it right around the psychological number of 100,000, but also what we see is, you know, right around the 99,000, like, what was it, the exact number? 99,963 high. We essentially formed a lower high there and ended up breaking down. So bulls were watching this area for a potential trend shift on Bitcoin. You know, this whole way down, we've just been in a downtrend, making a lower high and a lower high here before breaking down. You know, and then we even swiped all the lows at this point. So now what we see is today we broke out. Bulls are in control. We're above all the moving averages that I watch. We have the 9 crossing the 21 on the daily. We're basing on the 38.2%. But then even now we have a trend shift. And even on the 2-day, it's a little more clear why this zone was really important for bulls to actually reclaim, breakout. And so now if you're bullish, you should be gauging essentially a pullback. A pullback around these zones, right around, you know, especially that $104,000 level would make a lot of sense to me. But when I view things on like volatility, especially the 5-day, you know, a pullback scenario does seem kind of, you know, interesting because what we see is the 5 days fully reset, and these 5-day moves always, you know, brew really big moves upon expansion, somewhere around, you know, 28 to 30%. And we see now that we are approaching the 0% volatility read, which really hasn't occurred since, honestly, this breakdown when Bitcoin, you know, formed another lower high in 2024, was in that chop range. Upon confirmation here, we went down 19.59%, pretty massive actually. And then the funny part is it didn't even fully expand all the way on this downside move. And we consolidated, and then we see here that just the chop on this 3 volatility reads essentially chopped in BBWP. It was interesting to see. So that just inherently gave us a lot of volatility up and down. That was a 19% move up. That gave us a 23.8% move. But really the big one, as we know, is the October setup, which, you know, upon confirmation and once this broke the 50%, you know, we did end up moving, 59.7%. So the 5-day having a volatility setup is pretty massive for Bitcoin. The daily and the 2-day were in a downtrend, but it's something we talked about here. As long as we didn't break this low here, right around 90,500, we essentially were still keeping the weekly trend intact. So now, you know, this low to me is looking like the next higher low. We are now getting back above the median, and the next target is right around $118,000 if we can close back above this weekly median, which is happening in 6 days. which is still granted a long time. So, bears are really going to try to not let that happen and deviate us back up under 99,300. But, as long as Bitcoin is up and looking good, and also daily volatility wants to load, is starting to expand and breaking, the breakout zone, essentially losing that zone and the range. Yeah, I don't really see why we're not going to end up testing these highs, within the next few days. So Bitcoin is looking quite nice. I wouldn't be personally longing here though. I do, since whenever we do get a range break on Bitcoin, we always go up and then we end up fizzling down and coming down and smoking all the late longs. And what that does is basically form another higher low in the trend, early trend too, because we essentially just trend shifted today. But like I was saying, on the flip side, with the daily volatility expanding, that is going to make a pullback scenario a little more tricky, especially when we view tether dominance here. Tether dominance was something I was watching pretty heavily last night, because on the lower time frames, we had a volatility setup. We had one on 4 hour on tether dominance, and then here real quickly we had one on the 4 hour on Bitcoin. And that's why I do like watching. Let's load right here. So that's why I do like watching USD dominance, because I do think it can give us a nice gauge of kind of how the market is, the positioning of bulls, and if a move is actually going to be a breakout or a breakdown, it can at least give us a slight edge. And what we have now is on the lower time frames of volatility expansion. We see here we've simply been rejecting that 4 hour 9 EMA 9 this whole way down essentially. And now it's creeped up all the way to the meme line, right around that 4% or 3.97%. That's kind of the area I'm gauging currently, and it makes sense. This, if we take this chart off, has been a pretty strong area of support, right around the 4%. It's a psychological number as well. Big moves on tether dominance do like to occur here, up and down, and so breaking down now. And losing this zone really does give us the bias that Bitcoin should still be going up more, especially if the daily ends up losing it and closing anywhere like this. Volatility is still expanding too, and this was still kind of guiding my bias, especially for a bigger bounce on Bitcoin was essentially the breakdown on tether dominance and volatility supporting it, and it's only at 71.4%. And it very easily can hit extreme levels, something that we have seen before. For me now, I mean, the next target on tether dominance does seem like it wants to go back to test these lows. The big question that when we do end up going to 3.79, I'll be asking myself is if we actually do end up breaking that 3.77%. If we end up doing that while losing essentially the meme line, this will end up just looking, especially in the higher time frames, like just another lower low after potentially a lower high, right around the EMA 9 on the monthly. And the next target would be right around that 3.28%, assuming we do break those lows right around that 377. Let me see here. And we should expect some kind of bounce. This EMA 100 isn't populated as much as other charts, considering, this is fairly new. But right around where that is a 95% zone. So at least we have some kind of edge saying, okay, well, that we should get some kind of bounce. There's only a 5% chance of continuation. The monthly here is looking interesting as well, because even from this volatility setup, we never really invalidated. We're coming back down, and now it's right about to test the moving average, which, if it busts back through the moving average, that could actually just exacerbate this move down. And that could be why we're getting that, right around 3.3% on the monthly being the next target. And, it testing for the first time, the EMA 100 on the monthly, we should expect some kind of reaction. And then, granted, the 95% zone's right there. But it is nice to see that, Bitcoin, the vibe has shifted. Bulls won. They did grind out that higher low on the weekly. And now we're even getting tether dominance coming back down, losing the 4%. Today, if we end up losing, the 4% zone, a pullback to 4% wouldn't surprise me. Maybe something like this. and then we reject, that could give the higher low scenario, especially on like the daily, because we're getting a daily and a 2-day closure. You know, if we end up closing, seeing maybe where the 382 goes, maybe it moves down anywhere right around, you know, 96,300 could be the spot potentially where we do find that lower high, higher low, I mean. Yeah, let me see. Let's go back here. You know, and we still can't negate too, tether dominance is still just in a massive downtrend. And so that's why, to me, if into this month, if we end up breaking December's low, it's just going to look like another lower low to me. And again, that just kind of plays into why maybe that's why we're getting a Bitcoin 5-day volatility setup above the monthly median. Didn't even get close to essentially the EMA 9, right around that $78,000 level, which was my worst case scenario on the monthly 9. And, you know, on this monthly shooting star that happened in December, we saw a lot of people start talking about this. Often when people are talking about a level like shooting stars and a local top and things like that, you know, that can leave a lot of liquidity of just shorts piled in right around this zone. If Bitcoin ends up invalidating this and breaking the all-time high, essentially a move back up to potentially, you know, $110,000, $111,000 would not surprise me if not higher. Now my Wi-Fi is just a little slow. Oh, geez. You know, we keep seeing too, even on the monthly, the 2-week, we see the 78.6%. It's right around $132,000, which is pretty insane to even talk about. You know, let's see what the index is actually saying on this. So the index, we see that the 38.2% on the 2-week is right around $110,000 and $400. $110,400. You know, and something to note too, when everyone was getting bearish, we still had the Hamas setup firing off. And in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't do much to BBWP. You know, it's still very healthily pointed up, and Bitcoin essentially held exactly where it needed to. So, you know, it makes sense on why $108,000 is going to be a massive level. And we're even getting that confluence because of the 38.2% right around there. If breaking that, that'll honestly slingshot Bitcoin up, and it wouldn't surprise me to quickly see $124,000, especially when we already have a 5-day volatility setup brewing. Let's see if it's on the index as well. Yeah, even on the index, once BBWP breaks 15%, Bitcoin really could start moving fast up to the $110,000 to $120,000 level, which could mean that, you know, tether dominance actually then does retest that monthly EMA 100. Would make a lot of sense. And from that point, I don't think we measured it. Yeah, I mean, that's still a 14% move on tether dominance down. So let's see here. Just curiosity. Let's see. Yeah, so right around, you know, the $116,000, close to the 111,000. So, you know, my brain, I'm thinking of it almost like a range, like 111,000 to 116,000 could be next. I know the Academy, we have a TP3. For me, you know, it's currently right around those zones. You know, and I don't see why we wouldn't at least go and test at least 111,000, assuming we do break the all-time high on Bitcoin. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, I mean, on all time frames, really, Bitcoin's looking good. Even the 3-day here, we can see the median on the 3 days right around testing the all-time high. Breaking that then would take us to the $116,000 level. So, you know, we're getting lots of areas of confluence on why, you know, Bitcoin really could test the high. There we could see bears try to step in to roll us over. Maybe it rejects. On the monthly, they'll try to make the argument for a lower high, fulfilling essentially the shooting star. But as long as Bitcoin keeps moving up and essentially breaks the shooting star, I do think that's going to squeeze out a lot of shorts on Bitcoin. And the next target to me seems logical to look for at least a 50%, right around $110,000 and 925. That would make a lot of sense to me.
What about Bitcoin dominance? Did you look at that? Kind of doing the same thing as before. Although everything's getting bunched up in Bitcoin dominance, so it's going to be either a big rejection or a big, look at this. I love when all the moving averages get together.
Yeah, no, it's a good area of confluence. It's nice because then we know what levels to watch on the chart.
Yeah. And even the fucking median is there playing too with these guys. This could be an interesting rejection by the SMA 200.
Let me see.
And then you're just grinding a lower low.
Yeah. It honestly is still holding to the structure. It rejected where we needed it to. Let me see. Yeah, it is also at a big spot. I mean, if we were claiming that daily SMA 200, that'd be a big zone for bulls.
A Bitcoin, yeah.
But
yeah, if that happens, if you take it over, would you play maybe not play into the altcoins yet?
Yeah.
What would be the point?
For me,
where would be the point? Yeah.
It's all about that 366. So as you can see, ETH BTC is breaking down currently. We're at, like we were saying, the cluster of moving averages, wick down to the median on the daily. If we end up losing this 366 level, I don't really think it's worth looking at alts too much. Because just as history has shown, for ETH BTC at least, it's been pretty brutal to hold alts in this time, in this like period of breaking down. And it always occurs once we lose this 366. So that's kind of how I gauge alts, at least. So that's why today it's going to be pretty important. I do think for all these closures, especially on Bitcoin, but also for like Bitcoin dominance, ETH BTC, and even Sol ETH. Sol ETH was looking okay, and we even saw it was holding its monthly EMA 9, something Sol BTC didn't do. So, if ETH BTC does start losing this 366, rejecting the top channel of the 382, and even just rejecting the EMA 9, something it hasn't been able to get it back above, yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't end up going back down, especially testing these lows here, which could essentially equate to, Bitcoin dominance here actually going up. But what you see is we're just like in a range. Bulls are really going to try to make the argument for this being a higher low, which means they're going to need to essentially break this wick high all the way right around the meme line, the median on the weekly at 59.8%. If they can do that, then, to me, this would really look like a higher low, but, that's still a lot of work to do. Until then, that's let's see, percentage move. Yeah, 4.25%. So, for now on the daily, what we want on Bitcoin dominance at least is to reclaim the SMA 200. Getting back above there usually sparks nice little rallies on Bitcoin dominance, and losing it just sparks moves down. So I would really want to see this get reclaimed and hold above. That also is nice because it's right around my meme line that I have at 57.4%. If it can actually reclaim that, then what we'd be gauging here is at least a move back up to the EMA 100, which is right around the daily median. Getting back above that, then really would be testing this downtrend, which Bitcoin already has broken its downtrend on the daily today. Bitcoin dominance actually has not yet. So bears are really going to try to reject us currently here. And then ideally that could save ETH BTC from losing 366. But, if this loses 366 and also Bitcoin dominance reclaims the SMA 200, then I do think then the better trade would be currently Bitcoin and maybe still Solana, because Solana still looked good versus, ETH essentially. So let me go back here. Yeah, so bears, this is going to be the logical spot to reject us. It's right around the 57.5%. If essentially bears do, they're going to make the argument of this rolling over and being the next lower high, and then we do essentially just a range. So then if we reject the top of the range, we'll just go to the bottom. My bottom right now, which is funny, 56%. Losing that, then yeah, would be a pretty big move down in my opinion. I do think Bitcoin dominance easily could go back down at least to 55.5%, if not closer to the 54.3%, which is the 95% on the daily. So, you know, if you're a Bitcoin dominance bull right now, you're going to want to see, you know, it close back above 57.5% today. If it can do that, then I do believe that could play into the idea that Bitcoin right now isn't actually done with its rally, and it's just merely beginning. And that's why we're seeing BBWP on the daily expanding now, and it's very fresh. While even the 5-day is still brewing ones and contracting. You know, so big setups are brewing on Bitcoin, even despite this move down and this move up. It essentially, we still have all this volatility still brewing, which is nice to see, especially since we are at $102,000 currently. So when this 5-day starts expanding, assuming it does anywhere above 99,300, then for me, it would very fast take us to $111,000. And then at that point, we might get our higher low on the daily then, if it hasn't already done so. Let me just see if I hit everything. You know, and honestly, it was interesting to see it over the weekend because I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but we just like steadily had a CME premium all throughout the weekend, where even Bitcoin last night was down. It was like down 0.5%, and CME was up 1%.
That's what I was gonna exactly. That's what I was gonna ask. I'm sorry. What does it mean when CME is like $1,000 above the normal price, spot price?
Yeah, it just essentially means that institutions are buying. I mean, they buy CME over what we buy. So seeing that to me tells me that they're spot buying, which is something because me and Farn were talking about that last night. I noticed it when we were sitting on the balcony, and to me, that's always a bullish sign. That usually is like a pre-step before we end up breaking out. And so when you get like a 4-hour volatility setup on Bitcoin and a 4-hour volatility setup on Tether dominance, and Tether dominance is like hanging on a cliff, if it wants to load.
Yeah, because those guys are not sitting there on Binance or Coinbase hitting the buy button.
No.
Yeah, it's $1,300 above spot price right now.
Like this. Yeah. When you have Tether dominance, just like, you know, sitting on the cliff, it can at least help guide our bias on why I did think a big move was going to actually occur either tonight or today. You know, and it was to the upside. I mean, Bitcoin's posturing was bullish, especially then you just sprinkle on the CME premium where, you know, institutions are buying. Like CME broke 100K way sooner than even Binance Tether. So, yeah, I know that was an interesting point to see. So let me see. We see here on the 4-hour is very healthy. You know, right now, if we get any kind of move up to down to like 99,900, even maybe a wick to 99,400, that still is an opportunity because you're now just essentially going to want to keep on the 4-hour or above the 99,400. If we can just like consolidate, go down before the daily close and hold it, that will really increase the chance of us just continuing to break out, in my opinion, because any move or consolidation back above 99,400, especially when you have a daily trend shift and volatility expanding, usually just leads to continuation of trend, which overall the weekly trend has just been up, which makes sense to then test at least these highs, if not this wick here, right around that $104,000, which does line up nicely with the 78.6%, right around, you know, the same zone as this wick high, right around 105,000 to 104,900. So yeah, I know Bitcoin. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's looking pretty insane. And you know, I'm glad, you know, we were pretty cautious around 91K. We talked about it, and I'm just glad that we saw continuation of the overall trend. And that is why I do like using the weekly EMA9, because it can help in times like that where you're just not sure if we're going to break down, but you just have to stick to the facts. And the facts always, you know, are the trend first, and then where are we in the chart, how we broken down, is the weekly trend down? And as long as, you know, those two things didn't happen, this just seemed like an opportunity right around here. So, you know, all eyes on the $105,000. We, you know, have that daily level. We have the weekly median right around there. We have that wick high rejection. That to me would seem like a logical spot to at least look for some kind of pullback. Usually the pullbacks in a new trend are, you know, sometimes aggressive. Why I'm always hesitant on talking about a deeper pullback is just because of this volatility expansion. But when you get a new trend and you get this nice green dildo, most start longing here. And I always just talk about it's always easier just to wait for, even if it's like a go to 103,000. If we pull back to 99,400 or anywhere above there, that could be the spot. It can be, you know, aggressive to late longers, but very shallow in the grand scheme of things. And, you know, knowing that the trend has shifted now gives you a bias to just be aware on pullbacks now. There are opportunities. You know, we're wrong on that scenario if we end up just breaking these lows here. You know, if we break 91,300 and especially close it daily under there, we'll lose the 382. We'll have a really good chance of breaking down and actually hitting the $86,000 level. But until then, this is really looking like an actual breakout on Bitcoin. Volatility is supporting it. A 5-day is still brewing on its volatility, which just tells me that this move could just be beginning. Now, I'm curious to see how the monthly closed. Again, where that median is, 99,500. You know, so, you know, yeah, just be mindful of that, the shooting star, because, you know, again, bears are really going to try to reject us hard. It could come at right around 105,000. Maybe we test really close to this wick high, but, you know, as long as we're under this wick high, this still is looming. And that's why we're going to need to really break the all-time high of Bitcoin, invalidate this candle, and this will probably honestly slingshot us because it'll cause some kind of squeeze among shorts. Let's see how the 2-month did close on Bitcoin too. Yeah, 2-month just looks really good. It honestly is giving me vibes of like what occurred right before we broke out. You know, that $69,000 was a pretty big level of resistance. You know, we had a lot more data here, but it's always good to just see a 2-month reclaim a major level. We see here the median is at that $114,000. That's why I like using a range when we get to these kind of big numbers. And for me, that range is just like 110,000 to like $116,000. That to me would be a logical spot. And then lastly, to mention this, you know, we had, if I go to Bitcoin, I think it was the 2 weeks better. No, I'll do it on the weekly. You know, all the pattern bros are in head and shoulders. You know, they essentially wanted this to turn into the right shoulder, not breaking this last wick high. This head and shoulders is now breaking to the upside. It's invalidated, and it's funny because, you know, oftentimes when you get pattern bros, they always talk about the moves if they work, but if they don't work, they do give the opposite measured move essentially. And that would be close to that 118, 119,000, which is right above the 382, you know, on the weekly. So I just thought that was funny because I kept seeing that circulate. Me and Farn were always talking about it, you know, just the joke, because, you know, it's funny when just people like cling on to on crypto Twitter to like a single narrative. When everyone's often talking about the same thing, it often doesn't work out that way.
It never does, yeah.
It's looking pretty good amongst, you know, Bitcoin. Fresh breakdown on Tether dominance. Bitcoin dominance is at a really crucial level, especially on like the daily, you know, and then most importantly, Bitcoin finally got that trend shift, you know, because it's hard to stick to the macro like a weekly, especially when the daily and the 2-day are in a downtrend, because you really do run the risk of us bleeding into the weekly. And we got really close to breaking the weekly trend. But, you know, we did not. And that's why I always say Bitcoin likes the dirty dance, because it can take you all the way down to 91,500, be $1,000 away from breaking the overall weekly trend, but then hold exactly where it needs to and then just slingshot. And it only takes a few green candles for everyone to kind of forget about, you know, the last 2 weeks that occurred in December. So, that's all I really see on Bitcoin. It's looking pretty good. I think we're just in the midst of a breakout.
My man, thank you so much. Let's go, let's go, motherfucking Bitcoin. Make me rich. Come on. we have XRP and Link.
You gonna translate Bitcoin now, or should I do it as well?
Oh, do you want to also do Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm sorry, forgot about that.
Alex covered most of it, like pretty much everything I was gonna say,
but he's a piece of shit, so you're gonna. No, I'm just kidding.
Basically.
Fire's like, but I don't trust him at all. So here's
the one thing that I really wanted to talk about, he already kind of got, which was the head and shoulders. I don't know why my chart is not loading. It's literally not loading.
Give it a good old refresho.
There we go. Yeah, like he was saying though, because whenever there's a pattern, most people are looking at that pattern and they don't realize, like, more often than not, a failure of a pattern is more significant than the pattern itself. So right here, you can see that we have head and shoulders on daily on CME. So if you were to draw that measured move, take it from the top, right around here, take it to the bottom, right around there. The target of that head and shoulders failure, exactly at that $119,000 number, which is also the TP3 for the Academy long.
Damn, that's a long.
Oh yeah,
and that's a 30% gain from the entry at $91,000. Just a calm 30%, no leverage, 30%.
Anyone did 10%, got 300%, not bad.
And then you look at the jewel right now on the daily. The jewel is starting to flip back around from the bearish control zone and start to give you the cyan buy signal. The last time that we had that within the bearish control zone was right over here in September when the price was at $58,000. And then we did it basically at 2x and we went to $109,000 in CME. So we're getting that exact same setup that we got back in $58,000. We're getting momentum starting to work its way up. It's the first time around it rejected the bullish control zone. But now, since we're approaching this 38.2% area, it's very likely to make its way back into the bullish control zone. Then if you switch over to spot. Another thing giving you bias for up right now, which also gives you a statistical probabilities, is you go to the 2-month on spot. The last 2-month candle ever so slightly did close over the median. You can't really see it, right? Like you can kind of see it if you do like that. You can see the median right there, right below that the corner, the left corner of that candle. So we did slightly close over the median, which gives us a target of hitting the median again since it went up. And since this is a 2-month candle, by the end of February, we have extremely high probabilities that we're going to test this median again. And that number currently is at $114,000. So probabilities are right now in favor of up, especially since we're breaking that head and shoulders pattern. And let me get the number to break that officially. Any close over 101,435 daily close, and that's going to invalidate the head and shoulders pattern. It's going to activate that move up to 119,000.
So we just closed basically in a few hours, in 6 hours and 40 minutes, exactly there, like where we at right now. We're good to go.
Yep. If we any close today in 4 hours 46 minutes over 101,435, and the move is activated to 119.
Damn. Oh yeah, I'm on Bitcoin dominance chart.
And then our 2-month momentum is also now fully reset, and volatility is coming from extreme low areas. So this is literally basically the HPDR version of the Hamas setup, where we're just about to flip back up on momentum. We're coming from 0% volatility. And then on the opposite hand, like I'm not opposite, but on the same direction, if you go to the momentum chart, you go to the 5-day, we're getting another 5-day volatility and a stochastic momentum setup. We've gone back under the 15%, and we're hitting very low levels right now. We're hitting 4.37%. and momentum is about to shift back up. We're going to shift up in the next 4 days and 7 hours, as long as we close over $103,460, which CME is basically already there right now. The last time that we had this setup fire off was way back over here in this area, and it was about, price was about $59,000, and we went up to about $108,000. We're about to get that same setup once more, and probabilities are, whenever you get that setup, is 85% chance of a 30 to 35% on average move to the upside. Last time we got a lot more than 30 to 35%, but the average move based on statistics is 30 to 35%. So if you calculate 30 to 35% from here, that puts us at around $130 to $135,000, and that's the average move. It can do a lot more than that. It can do a little bit less, but on average, it's around 30 to 35%. So it doesn't look like Bitcoin is wanting to cool down anytime soon. Kind of looking like it might, that $160,000 number might not be that unrealistic. And if you switch over to the RSI, we still have that same number that we've been looking at for the past couple of weeks, which I thought it was going to move down. It actually moved up, which is kind of bullish that number did move up. Right here on the quarterly hidden bullish divergence on the RSI. That number was previously at $160,000 for the critical zone. Now that number has moved up to 169. Oh, beautiful number, $169,000. And we're still getting volatility expansion on the quarterly from the lowest levels we've ever got. So along with that bullish divergence target of $169,000, expanding volatility, the jewel is now entering into the bullish control zone. The last time the jewel entered into the bullish control zone on the quarterly was in April of 2021. Actually, no, January of 2021. We went from about $30,000 to $65,000. We're in the exact same setup on from when we've done 100% moves on many different indicators and many different methods right now. All of them are pointing the same way. I'm not saying we're going to go to a $200,000, we're going to get a 100% move, but it's very likely we go up somewhere around $120,000 to $130,000. I don't want to say it because I'm going to get clipped, but at a minimum.
Like I said, I'm going to clip you. You don't have to wait for the bad guys.
Just post it and be like, you see what this retard said?
Isn't he your friend? Yeah, still.
Hey, if your friends don't make fun of you, who will, right?
Exactly. Everyone.
Now, who needs enemies when you've got friends like that, right?
Exactly.
On the 2-day, we just confirmed on this last closure, fresh drive of hidden bullish divergence on the 2-day RSI, along with the jewel starting to flip back around and rejecting getting into the bearish control zone. So we'd have two targets based off of this RSI divergence. First one is going to be the bullish control zone, and then the critical zone. And right now, since we're coming from such low levels on our volatility, it's more likely that we end up touching that critical zone. Right now, our first target of the bullish control zone sits at our current all-time highs at $108,287. And then we get a little bit crazy whenever we look at the critical zone. That's at $149,000. Pretty insane.
Fucking Jesus.
One Chinese Bitcoin will buy you one Range Rover autobiography. which will then go down more than the Solana system does.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Talk about turning your Bitcoin into something fucking super negative.
It's funny how people really love those Range Rovers so much.
They're just comfy. I think it's mostly like the new, it kind of like went back to being the G-Wagon. Because for a while, the G-Wagon took over the Range Rover. Now I feel like those are coming back.
I'd take a G-Wagon over a Range Rover any fucking day.
All
Especially
day.
the new ones.
Yeah, all day.
And now CME is starting to shift back up on momentum for the monthly. Where we were shifted down for a little bit, now we're shifting back up, maintaining the critical zone, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $90,000, $90,150. So we're a solid like $12,000 over that right now. Quarterly is also pointed heavily to the upside, and the pivot is $60,000. We're currently, what is that, like $40,000 over that right now?
Yeah.
Where is that? See if we have a 2-day setup. Yep, 2 days also now giving us a setup as well, just like the 5-day, where we've dropped below the 15% on volatility. And once we get expansion over the 15%, we'll have an 85% chance of a 25 to 30% move in direction of stochastic momentum. Right now, momentum is starting to flip back up, rejecting getting into the bearish control. It's going to be pointed up as long as we're above $101,400, which we are slightly above that right now, by like $1,000, $1,400 above that. As long as we're above that, we have probabilities of a 25 to 30% move. That would take us somewhere around $127,000 to $130,000, which again, that $130,000 number once again comes back up. Go back down to the 4 hour. 4 hours also giving us a setup. We've dropped below that 15%. We're starting to expand. We've already confirmed volatility expansion on the 4 hour. Momentum is maintaining within the critical zone, and we're gonna maintain upside within the next hour and 40 minutes if we close above 102,880, which we are just dancing around that number right now. If we do confirm that number, that will confirm that we're gonna have continuation on this pump that we have towards somewhere around our current all-time highs, around 100 and maybe 105 to $108,000. Probably get somewhat of a pullback there because that is significant levels on the HPDR median. And then from there, we're going to have invalidated the head and shoulders, and we very likely go towards $119,000. That's what I have for Bitcoin, since Alex basically mostly covered everything.
Damn, son. I want to buy some Chinese Bitcoins.
Trading all of my Russian Ethereums for Chinese Bitcoins.
Do you have a good Chinese broker for these?
Oh, yeah, his name is Genie the Pooh.
Oh, don't you fucking mess with Shiji the Pooh, motherfucker. He pays my bills every now and then. Every now and then China will hire me, dude. Like, for real. A car company from China. They're like, sir, do you mind making video? Like, the email seems like a 5-year-old wrote it.
Oh, hero. Make a video,
and we'll reply like, yeah, what are you looking at? They're like, we want you to, like, they always want you to travel somewhere to go see the car. We'll pay for the travel and all of that, and we'll give you $120,000. I'm
God
like,
damn.
Yeah. Every time. Oh, yeah. Whenever you see me doing a Chinese car sponsorship, just know I'm getting fucking paid. So I
can see why John Cena started speaking Chinese.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. You kidding me? If they keep those checks coming, I'll be like conchon power chicken all day.
Bing chilling.
Oh, been chilling all day. Sorry, everyone. Okay, here we go. XRP and Chainlink is next. Ok. Tenemos acá Bitcoin. Bueno, tengo la dominancia de Bitcoin en realidad por acá. Algo que les quiero enseñar rápido es mi NEP. No es cierto. Es esto. Tenemos Bitcoin voy a quitar el Rainbow Chart por un segundo, el HPDR. Y quiero enseñarles esto, el famosísimo, ¿cómo se llama? El gap que todo el mundo está, uy, güey, va a estar el gap. Tenemos CME. CME está cotizando en 103,090 y Spot está cotizando en 100,000. Hemos visto que hay una diferencia de más o menos $1,000 a $1,300 en el precio en favor a CME. Recuerden, CME es donde compran las ballenas, los grandes. No están comprando en Coinbase, por más que nos quieran vender esa idea. Por esto, cuando ves un gap, un margen tan grande a favor de CME comparado con lo normal, sabes que las instituciones grandes están comprando y eso es bastante positivo para el precio de Bitcoin. Solamente quería decir eso, ponerlo enfrente de los ojos de todos. Ahora, vamos con el Bitcoin chino. No, todos los Bitcoins son iguales, no se preocupen. Estamos cotizando en $102,000. Por supuesto que sí. Vamos rápidamente. ¿Y qué fue lo que pasó? Logramos mantener nuestra tendencia. Atención, nuestra tendencia diaria intacta. Tenemos este mínimo que nunca testeamos en esta línea verde en los 90,000, que fue el tren que se me perdió. Pero Alex estaba ahí para todos ustedes con ETA y les mandó ese potente long en el que estamos potentemente en ganancias y ahora hasta al tercer TP puede que toque. Es bastante bueno. No rompimos, ahora sí que no vimos continuación a esta tendencia bajista donde estábamos creando nuevos mínimos. Se rompió por completo justamente con esta vela. Esta vela lo rompe porque invalida justamente estos altos y ahora estamos en busca de una vez más los altos más altos, que por cierto, eso sería más claro en este gráfico que tengo de Bitcoin y lo pueden ver. Discúlpenme, como siempre, dibujando estupideces. Y lo pueden ver acá, sobre todo, porque literalmente nunca tenemos cierres diarios por encima de esto. La única vez que lo hemos tenido, nos dio el pompazo de los $101,000 hasta los $108,000. Y aquí estamos una vez más. Tenemos 6 horas y 35 minutos para cerrar este gráfico. ¿Ok? Solamente quiero poner eso enfrente de todos ustedes, poner el planteamiento de por qué todo se ve tan bien, por qué la gente está emocionada, simplemente porque creemos que vamos a ir a barrer estos máximos y crear nuevos altos históricos en el precio del Bitcoin chino. Vamos rápido a la tabla trimestral, como siempre. Tabla trimestral, vamos a resetear acá nuestros tamaños. Y aquí lo pueden ver. Gran cierre del trimestre pasado con el año pasado en $93,000. Ahora estamos en los $102,000 buscando poder cerrar esto. Todavía faltan 2 meses y 26 días para poder cerrar esta vela. Así que, como dice Bad Bunny, nadie sabe qué va a pasar mañana y además todo puede pasar. Así que no se me confíen todavía. Sigamos viendo y analizando las tablas de acuerdo a lo que estamos viendo. Ok, con eso dicho y hecho, tenemos algo de volatilidad, por supuesto. Todavía continuamos esta expansión de volatilidad tan deliciosa que viene del periodo más bajo de toda la historia de Bitcoin y nos dio la expansión justamente por acá y hemos visto que desde entonces hemos estado subiendo. Esto lo sigue apoyando. La volatilidad apenas está en 51.85% y eso nos dice que nos va a dar continuación a la alza, damas y caballeros. Vamos a poner la mensual. En la mensual vemos y tenemos el truco más sucio de todos. No hay setup de volatilidad todavía, pero está a punto de treparse por encima del promedio, lo que nos diría que habría expansión. Atentos a esto. ¿Qué tenemos acá? Una vela topera. Esta vela topera, ¿dónde es invalidada? Esta vela topera es invalidada con cualquier cierre por encima de los 108,592. Lo que nos está dando esta oportunidad es probablemente eso. Nunca habíamos tenido un cierre más grande mensual que los 96,306 y ahorita justamente estamos en 101,953. Recuerda, todavía faltan 25 días y 7 horas para cerrar esta vela, así que no te me confíes todavía, brother. Oye, brother, préndele el HBDR, no seas mamón, para ver dónde estamos. Pueden ver que estamos por encima de la media. La media está justamente en la zona baja del 91.4, en los 91,233. En lo que estamos viendo al precio de Bitcoin justamente por encima. Y esto nos da mayor preferencia a que haya probabilidades de tocar la parte alta de la zona azul, que está en $131,139. Sé que suena loco, pero en estos momentos todo esto se ve alcista de a mega madre. Vamos a la de 2 semanas. En la de 2 semanas venimos de nuestro tradicional setup de jamás, que nos dio la expansión de volatilidad, continúa tal cual y la expansión de volatilidad continúa en 66.27% a la alza, muy por encima del promedio, que está más de 11% abajo. Y Bitcoin está entrando en la parte alta, rompiendo la parte alta de la zona azul y ahora va a ir a buscar este 50% que se encuentra en los 109,750. Pero por el setup de volatilidad que tienes, eso te da más probabilidad de irte al 61.8% y eso está en $124,000 casi. Así que esto tiene confluencia con nuestro objetivo mensual. 2 semanas, como no, es la mitad de tiempo. Interesante. Acá tenemos otra bastante interesante en la semanal. La volatilidad está contrayendo, está por debajo del promedio, nos va a dar otro setup, vamos a ver a dónde va. Pero por ahora lo que estamos viendo en la tabla es que cerramos por encima esta vela de la media, lo que nos da en esta oportunidad mínimo una gran probabilidad de ir a buscar la media una vez más. La media en la semanal está en 104,758. Si podemos cerrar por encima de la media, vamos a tener un viaje gratis a la parte alta de esta, que está en 122,000 y el 50% encontrándose en esos 130. Así que esto se pondría sabroso y yo creo que la zona importante a poder tener un cierre arriba de es un cierre más alto del que habíamos tenido semanalmente, que fue en los 104,373. Con eso dicho y hecho, ya vimos la volatilidad, nos vamos acercando un poco más a la de 5 días. En la de 5 días tenemos ya el pre-run, el front run de esto. La volatilidad en comparación con la semanal que se está reseteando, aquí ya está reseteada, está en 4.37%. Vamos a ver si nos regala otro setup de jamás con cero volatilidad, pero por ahora está reseteada, preparando el siguiente movimiento. Ok, eso entendido, eso es la de 5 días. Nuestra media está en 101,167. Estamos por encima de ello, lo que nos daría el cierre por encima de la media, un viaje a la parte alta de la zona azul en el 38.2%, que está en 113,922. Pero, y atención, si la volatilidad nos apoya, eso nos debería de poder llevar hasta el 61.8% y eso está en $126,463. Acercándonos un poco más, vamos a ver rápidamente la de 2 días. En la de 2 días estamos justamente en la parte alta del 38.2% de la zona azul, encontrándonos con un poco de resistencia, en lo que nuestra volatilidad continúa su expansión. Eso es bueno, seguimos acá creando estas velas verdes y esta expansión de volatilidad nos podría ayudar a llegar al 61.8%, que está en los $109,129,000. Eso es un máximo histórico. Cualquier cierre por encima en la de 4 días de $104,000 sería potentísimo. Y ahora vamos rápidamente a la diaria, donde nos encontramos bastante por encima de nuestra zona azul. Ya rompimos el 50% y estamos entrando en la zona del 61.8%, pasando esta línea meme. Un cierre acá nos va a dar un viaje no gratis, pero bastante sencillo a 106,307. Si eso continúa, podríamos ver el 88.3%. No es algo que no pase, lo vemos por acá en esta zona, y eso está en $111,000. Y en la diaria también tienes volatilidad expandiendo, que es bastante bueno, y apenas está en 33%. Eso nos dice que probablemente vayamos a ver estos nuevos máximos históricos en el Bitcoin. Cuando volteamos a ver USDT, podemos darnos cuenta que en la diaria USDT tuvo esta ruptura a la baja y va de vuelta a la zona del 88.3%, que también hay convergencia con nuestra línea meme en esta zona del 3.78%. Si llegamos a ver que la dominancia de USDT, que es lo que estamos esperando, de continuación y caiga por acá, muy probablemente la vayamos a ver caer todavía un poco más de esta zona. Lo que sí es que mi línea meme acá está aguantando al precio, básicamente. Espérame, aquí está. Todavía ni siquiera la ha tocado. Es algo bastante importante para todos nosotros de ver. ¿Por qué? Una vez que rompamos esto y caigamos, hay aire limpio a los 3.78 y esto nos daría un movimiento en Bitcoin también bastante potente. Así que ahí lo tienen. Bitcoin se ve bastante bien, tiene cara de que definitivamente va a ir a buscar altos históricos, sobre todo viendo la interacción, la relación de CME con Bitcoin. Déjenme ver simplemente en CME cuál es la diferencia entre los setups de volatilidad. Interesante. Solamente me dio curiosidad esto. ¡Wow! No mames, se ve pero alcista de a madre. Ahora, ¿lo va a hacer de una y en chinga y va a llegar ahí desde el principio? No, pero se ve bastante alcista. All righty, we said XRP or Chainlink. What are we doing now?
I got XRP.
Of course you do, Mr. Garlic House.
Brad Garlic House who? They should fire him and hire me for the CEO of XRP.
I don't understand why they haven't done it, to be honest with you. Is nobody, like, there's a lot of people watching this video. Is no one at XRP with the trend? Does no one knows what's going on?
They're a bunch of retards.
It seems like it. Well, they did donate to Kamala's campaign.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I'll never be hired at XRP then.
Sorry, my boy.
All right, so right now we'll start with the quarterly on XRP. XRP now is over the 61.8% on the quarterly for the first time, basically ever since 2017. Every single time, like after that, we couldn't even get close to the 61%. Like previously, like right here in 2020, our top, this major wick, we went all the way up to like 80 something cents, and then we closed at around 22 cents. That was the rejection of the 38.2, rejection of the 38.2, rejection of the 50% in the 2021 cycle highs. This is the first time we've ever even tapped the 61.8%. So forget about closing it over it. This is the first time we've even tapped it. If we get a close over the 61.8% though, that's also going to be multiple closures over the 78.6, That takes us to, close your ears, everybody who's not George, $6.38. I'm sorry to, like, you. I'm gonna get clipped for this. 100%. I'm gonna get clipped for this. That would be the technical target, somewhere around $6.38. And then if say you get three closes, if big if 3 closes over $6.38, that takes you to the 78.6. This number, and once again, this number will change. Just right now, it's sitting at $21.32. I'm not saying it's going to $21.32. I'm saying right now the target, if you get 3 closes over this and this doesn't change, would be $21.32. What's more likely is that this level comes down significantly. So until we see where it moves to, you won't really be able to get anything actionable. This is something to look at and keep your eye on. But imagine what the market cap of XRP would be if it went to $21.32. It would be absolutely astronomical. Right now, momentum on the quarterly is entering into the bullish control, while volatility is still only at 68%. Damn, it feels only 0.58% more. But right now, we're at 68% on volatility. Moving average is still only at 35%. The last time we freshly entered into bullish control on the quarterly on XRP was way back here in January of 2017. Price was sitting at 0.003 cents. It was at a third of a cent. And then it went from there to $3. That was a, I believe, 1,000% move, 1,000x, something like that. Let's just calculate it for shits and giggles. From January of 2017, right here, $48,000% move to the upside. It's not too bad, right? 48,800% move. I'm not even saying that we're going to get a 40,000% move or a 20,000% move. I'm just saying $6.38 if we get 3 closes over the 78.6 and percent on the fib, and a close over the 61.8% on the HBDR bands. That's like not even a 3x from here.
So the XRP Foundation is going to buy Tesla, Nvidia, and every other company in the US.
And then in the bear market, they'll be worth nothing.
Well, no, because now they have those companies.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They got staying power then. On the monthly, we are approaching this 88.3%, which makes it more difficult to close that quarterly over the 61.8. Because if we close over the 88.3%, and right now on the monthly, we already have 2 closes over this 78.6. There'll be a third close over the 78.6, which then would take us high probability towards that 161.8%, which is around $6.38. Momentum on the monthly is still strongly within bullish control, and so rejecting getting out of bullish control wasn't even able to make it down towards the edge of the bullish control. It just flipped down a little bit and started flipping back up. Same thing with the volatility. Now volatility is supporting that too. On the jewel is just about to enter into the monthly bullish control zone too. So every single signal on the higher time frames is looking mega bullish. As my man Donnie T would say, bigly bullish. 2-week right now has closed over the 88.3%. If we do pull back, I'd be looking for somewhere around this 88.3% to this 5 EMA to be support. But until then, the pullback is just an idea, especially since momentum is still pointing to the upside and volatility is still supporting it. And the jewel is now well within the bullish control zone, and we're about to break into the critical zone. The last time we've been in the critical zone, I believe, was 2017. Nope, 2017 wasn't even able to make it into the critical zone. So if we make it into the critical zone this time around, it's going to be a significant change in structure. It's going to be even more of a powerful move than we got in 2017, where we rejected getting into the critical zone. In 2017, we did a 48,000% move, and we still didn't enter the critical zone.
48,000% move. What a fucking stupid number that is. You had $1,000. What's 48,000 times $1,000? 4 million?
48,000%. So that would be like 4,800x.
Hang on. I'll do it on my calculator. Go on. I'm sorry.
On the weekly, we have just now freshly reclaimed, or we closed ever so slightly closed below it on this week. Then we reclaimed it strongly, the 5 EMA, and I believe this is a massive bullish engulfing as well. Yep, massive bullish engulfing on the weekly, with momentum starting to shift down a little bit. Volatility is also shifting down, but it's not really that big of an issue as long as we're holding above $1.99. As long as we're holding over that, probabilities are still to the upside. What I would like to see for confirmation is a close over the 78.6% at $2.54. then we should see a pretty aggressive move towards the top 88.3%, which right now is at $4.28. But as people have seen, whenever XRP does move, it moves aggressively and it doesn't let anybody on board. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, like maybe in a month and a half for us to just rip straight to $4.50, maybe even $6. And then from there, like, it's probably going to stall out a little bit. If that's a cycle top, then we probably Nagasaki set up from there. If we continue higher after consolidation, then we probably have another very aggressive move up.
By the way, just a quick parenthesis. $1,000 times 48x is $48 million.
48,000% on $1,000?
48,000% on $1,000 is $48 million.
Holy fucking shit. You just made generational wealth from $1,000.
Imagine.
Sheesh. You're sitting there at the Pagani Raduno, and they're like, how did you make your money? Well, I put $1,000 into some shitcoin. They will instantly all look down on you.
Oh my God. But instantly, all the guys with their lovers, because they don't take their wives with them, all that stuff, they would be so mad at you because you're such a piece of shit below them.
Well, they all got their money from their parents.
Exactly. Let's get it the traditional way, Farhan.
On the 5-day now, 38.2% has now rapidly caught up to price action, and we're back within it. This price doesn't like to be too far away from the 38.2%. That's why we find our previous cycle top right here, right around the 95%. But now the 95% is so far up, we've caught back up with the HPDR ranges, and now we can move back up to the upside. And now where we topped out before, the 95%. 95% is now sitting at $10.95. Very insane number. I'm not saying we're going to go back to the 95%. It's just now we have enough space to actually move back up to the 95%. Like they say on Step. I'm sorry.
Finish your thought.
Like they say on Step Brothers, much more room for activities.
By the way, I was watching an economist talk about basically giving his overview for 2025. Really fucking brilliant, dude. Like, really brilliant, great points, everything. All like the whole hour and a half I'm listening, I'm like, damn, this dude's fucking on fire. And at the end, he goes and tells everyone to buy XRP that he's going to go to $20. I was like, well, all right. By the way, he either is a beast and knows something that we don't, or wow, what I believe is really stupid.
That number on the quarterly was $21. So, hey, maybe
I know.
right.
When I saw that was the first dude I thought about.
He's going to be like, you all you fucking assholes who laughed at me. You still laughing?
Yeah, absolutely, including me.
Shifts down to 2-day. 2-day momentum is now starting to shift back up. It's rejecting the bullish control zone the first time around, which is natural for it to do that. But we still have another 6 hours and 17 minutes to go. We want to see what happens after this next open. If we can flip back into the bullish control zone, that's going to be exactly what the bulls want to see. And then the volatility will start flipping up to support it. And we're going to maintain this top 38.2%. So we likely will break into the bullish control zone as long as we hold this $2.37 number. If we hold that, then it's likely to use that into a spring towards somewhere around the 88.3% to the 95%. I'm thinking somewhere around the 88.3% first and pull back there. That would be a sweep of our previous all-time highs, which all-time highs around $3.30. 88.3% is at $3.56. So it would be natural to see a sweep of that current all-time highs right above that $3.30, maybe $3.56. Get a sharp, aggressive pullback from there, maybe all the way back down to $2.90, and then from there we'd likely tap 95%. Assuming the 95% doesn't move, it likely will, but right now it's at $4.92. We'll have to see where it moves to after we tap our current all-time highs. And now the jewel is starting to flip back around too, rejecting getting into the bullish control zone, and it's giving us this white neutral color. If we maintain the 38.2%, this is going to likely shift into the light blue cyan bicolor, and that takes us up to that 88.3 to 95%. The last time the jewel flipped around and gave us a buy signal was way back over here in November of 2024, when price was sitting at 49 to 50 cents, and then we went up to $2.90. Daily is getting a little bit of a correction. We're getting, but momentum is still pointing to the upside. Volatility is still pointing to the upside, and we're still maintaining this top 38.2% after closing above it. So as of right now, we're still holding this 5 EMA, which is exactly what bulls want to see. What would be confirmation, which is we close over the 78.6 at $2.41. Got 6 hours for the bulls to push it up less than a cent. And if we could have closed over the 78.6%, that would activate a move towards the 95%. Right now, the 95% is sitting right above our current all-time highs at $3.37. Then from there, we'd likely go to the 97%, which is about $4. Imagine telling people back in the 2022 bear market that XRP would be trading at $4.
No. No.
It was at like 28 cents. People would have called you return. My bad.
No, I guess the people that bought it then were right? Like they thought that could be the case, and maybe they still think that 20 is real.
They had the strongest conviction out of anybody I've ever seen other than Cardano holders.
Me, well, yes, but the Cardano holders have been wrong. The XRP guys were kind of right.
Well, everybody was making fun of them. They're like, it'll never even go to $2 again.
Yeah, I was one of them.
Now, momentum on the 4 hour is starting to shift down a little bit. We're starting to lose the bullish control zone with volatility shifting down, though. That's also key. That whatever moves to the downside we're getting is likely a correction. And what the bulls want to see is it to hold this 21 EMA and this 38.2%. Because if we deviate to the 21 EMA, it's going to be pretty bad. We're probably going to lose the 38.2%. Probably going to come down to the 100 EMA, around $2.29, $2.30. But as long as we're holding these two key areas, well, I guess it's the same area because they line up, the 21 and the 38.2 at that $2.39 number, $2.40 number, we're still poised to go to the upside towards the 95%, around $2.71. And then from there, our current cycle highs around $2.90 and all-time highs at $3.30. Shift to the RSI. No divergence. Did we go lower? All right, so there is technically some hidden bullish divergence here on the monthly because we did make a higher low while the RSI made a lower low. You could argue that the hidden bullish divergence is played out because from that divergence, we have a 541% move to the upside. And we've already tapped the critical zone, so you wouldn't really be able to get much targets off of that, but we still have active hidden bullish divergence as long as we're closing above at $1.849.
Okay.
2 week also has active 3 drives of bullish divergence. We've already hit all of the easy targets, but it's going to be active as long as we're closing above $1.99. Weekly, no. Nope. All right, so daily does have a fresh drive of hidden bearish divergence. We've already hit the easy target, which would be at the edge of the bullish control zone. So if we do continue to the downside, it would be confirmation if we close below 2.328. Then our next target would be the middle zone of the RSI, and right now that level is sitting at $2.25, right next to that $2.30 area that we'd be looking at if we get an extended pullback. And that's only confirmed if we close below that 2.328 number. If we get close over there, then our divergence, the hidden divergence is going to continue to play out, probably go towards 225 to 230. But as of right now, you could argue that the easy target of the divergence has been played out.
Okay.
Played out until it's not. So you're saying it can go up or down?
Absolutely. Oh man, I had dinner with my father-in-law, with Belen's dad, and he was saying, so what do you think about the markets, right? Because he's like invested in like all the markets. He's one of those guys that just like buys and just chills and hasn't looked at his account forever. So he's like asking me, what do you think about the what's going to happen now with Trump and all this stuff? And I was like, honestly, I think there's a chance that it could go down, but most likely it's going to go up. And he goes, so it can go both ways, is what you're saying. And I go, yes. And he goes, don't you just study this all day, every day? I'm like, yeah. I'm just not good, sir.
People don't understand probabilities. Like there's probabilities of both directions.
I know. It's like, I mean, I wish I knew a person that just knew what the market was going to do, because that person be my best friend. Like I'm trying to be friends with Nancy Pelosi, but she doesn't reply to any of my letters.
Hey, maybe you can work on Jim Cramer, and then whatever he says, do the opposite.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's public, so I'll probably do that, most likely.
Be like, hit him in the DMs. Yo, Jim, what do you think XRP is going to do in this next 3-month period?
Totally going to go down. Buy it. Totally going to go up. Sell it.
On the quarterly, on the momentum chart, we're still getting volatility expansion from the lowest points XRP has ever had on its volatility. We're only at 67% now, and this thing likes to hit many periods of 100% volatility. We're getting out of the bearish critical zone. We're just about to exit the bearish control zone, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're at 88 cents. I think we're safe on that.
I would say so.
Monthly volatility is also expanding from extreme low areas, somewhere around like 9%. We're at 82%. This thing likes to hit many periods of 100% volatility. We're within the bullish control, and we're just about to enter into the critical zone, and we're pointed up as long as we're above $1.28. 2 week was firing off that little Hamas setup. Many periods of 0% volatility. We're starting to get to very extreme levels on volatility, though. We're at 90%. We're already below the moving average, so volatility contraction is starting, and we're going to be, but momentum is going to be pointed to the upside, and we're going to enter into the critical zone as long as we're above $2.03.
By the way, that's a supersonic Hamas setup, because he fucking blew up so fast.
That's the ultimate of Hamas setups.
That's right. When you can get the supersonic shit into your Hamas, fuck yeah. Anyone watching this video without any context is like, this is it. This is what they're doing. They're pretending to be trading.
it's the inshallah Hamas setup.
Exactly.
Weekly is also now contracting on our volatility from many periods of 100%. And now weekly momentum is starting to shift down. It's rejecting the critical zone, and we're going to be pointed down as long as we're below $2.67. 5 days, same thing, contracting volatility, but 5 days about to flip back up. We have 4 days and 7 hours to go for the bears to turn this pivot down, but we're going to maintain the bullish control zone and flip back into the critical zone as long as we're closing above $2.35. So the fact that volatility is contracting gives you more of a chance that this is probably not going to hold it on the close. It would be nice to see it holding on the close. Then all bets are off, and then happy days, we're back to the upside. But what's more likely is that we don't hold this on the close.
But then that would play into the bear's divergence.
Yeah,
any close above 238
to go towards $2.30.
Yeah.
On the opposite hand, though, 2-day volatility is starting to expand now. We have gotten over the moving average. We're rejecting getting into the bearish control, and we're going to be pointed up as long as we're above $2.26. So the bulls are going to have to work to maintain that pivot on that next close to make sure we close over it. Because if we do, then we get continuation. Same thing with the daily. Volatility is now expanding once again. We're entering into the critical zone, and we're pointed up as long as we're above $2.29. 4 hours now giving us a little bit of a mini Hamas setup with 0% volatility on 2 periods, and we're rejecting getting into the critical zone, and we're pointed up on momentum, entering into the bullish control, and we're going to be pointed up above $2.37. So you go all the way up to like the quarterly, you are getting some pretty insane George numbers. Assuming we close over the 61.8%, that would take you first to $6.38. And if you can get 3 closes over that $6.38, that would take you to the 95%, which right now, like, I don't want to, it's $21, but who knows where that range is going to move to on whenever it actually does get there. And you go a little bit lower, we're getting a volatility expansion from the lowest it's ever been on the monthly and the quarterly. We're getting momentum pointing towards the upside. We have a hidden bullish divergence, which arguably has been played out. And you go a little bit lower, momentum is starting to turn down with volatility contracting from 100%. Then if you go even lower to the, if you go down to like the 5-day, momentum is slightly dancing on the edge. We're still over it right now with volatility contraction. If the bulls manage in the next 4 days and 7 hours to hold that momentum pivot, then we'd likely still get continuation of this rally and probably go towards $3. And what I thought beforehand that it was less likely for that to happen because volatility is contracting. But then you go down to the lower time frames, like the 4-hour, and we're getting a little mini Hamas setup where volatility is 0%. Daily is giving us momentum shifting back up from decent levels of volatility, not low levels, but not high levels, giving it more likely of a chance that we actually will close over that level, especially since 4-hour is now about to enter into the bullish control zone and it's working off of 0% volatility. We'll know for sure in the next 4 days and 7 hours if the bulls are able to maintain that pivot. If they are, then we likely go towards $3.50, sweep that previous all-time high, probably get a pullback from there towards like $2.90. And then from $2.90, I'm thinking we go towards like 4s.
Damn, that would be fucking sweet. Now, can I tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we're looking at these cryptos, at these crypto chains and going like, it's impossible that they're going to have that type of valuation. Can I throw something insanely wild at you? And just for you to think about, food for thought, since I cannot have any more food after all the food that I've been eating, just for thought.
Yeah, I'm on a diet now too. No
Good
more
for us.
chilaquiles.
Good for us. Same thing. Same fucking thing right here. Okay, here we go. What if I told you the chain, the first shitcoin chain that will make it past $2 trillion market cap is already in front of us?
Which one? XRP?
I don't know which one it is, but they are. And can I tell you why? Because we are through Tether, and Tether is just a small example. What we're not noticing is we're in the phase, you know, when we started phasing out cash, like actual cash from the market, it didn't happen overnight. It hasn't really fully happened. It's still happening, right? Where more transactions went from cash to digital, right? Like we all see it. We've all been around that. We are changing digital transactions into crypto transactions. And the way we're doing that is we're moving treasuries into collateral as security for the stable coins on those chains, right? So now Tether has $140 billion of market cap. That means there's $140 million worth of treasuries backing up Tether in different chains. So the movement is already going into that digital space. The reason why they banned Tether in Europe, and not a lot of people, I think, see it, is because they're going to say, you want to buy a USD, like you want to buy a Euro digital coin, you're going to have to buy it at the cost of a Euro, and they're going to back it up with Euro paper, just like the USDT. And whenever you want to transfer money with people in Europe, you're going to have to transfer your USDT to Euro T, right? Or whatever the fuck it is at the end. So that means there's so much volume of money in treasuries coming into on-chain that I think one of these chains is going to like easily start transacting like those type of volumes eventually. So when we look at these insane numbers, I don't think they're that crazy if one of these chains is the one that stays. And I think like a lot of them have a good chance of doing it. But I think that's not crazy anymore, in my view.
Yeah. On the opposite hand, Europe can go fuck themselves.
Well, they are already. We're absolutely demolishing those boys. Sorry, everyone in Europe. Take our foreign policy.
Go buy some more expensive gas from us.
And keep telling us how bad Putin is. Oh man, I wish I could take like, man, that's an incredible trick. Either way. Ok, tenemos XRP. Estamos viendo XRP en la trimestral rápidamente. Y muy alcista, honestamente. XRP se ve en su pico, se ve en su prime, se ve listo para hacer los siguientes movimientos que va a hacer. Hemos visto en todo este tiempo estos mínimos, creando mínimos más altos, mínimos más altos, mínimos más altos. Y apenas estamos buscando poder barrer estos altos históricos en $3.3 por XRP. ¿Qué es lo que estamos viendo en la tabla? Vamos a primero y antes que nada ver volatilidad. Volatilidad continúa expandiendo del periodo más bajo de toda la historia por encima del promedio, está en 67% y le gusta estar en extremos. Esto nos dice que XRP tiene probablemente muchas ganas de continuar ese subidongo. Estamos muy por encima de la zona azul, estamos muy por encima de la media, estamos en el 61.8% y un cierre por ahí sería maravilloso y nos llevaría, y prepárense para el número tan estúpido, a los $21. Ahora, esto no va a pasar ni de chiste pronto, ni próximamente. Y recuerden que le faltan todavía 3 meses para cerrar esta vela, por lo que lo vamos a ver reajustarse. Así que antes de que se me emocionen y empiecen a brincar que ya son ricos y gastarse el dinero antes de que lo tengan en la cuenta de banco, tranquilos. Acercándonos más en la mensual, podemos ver que XRP también estamos muy por encima de toda la zona azul. Solamente para que lo vean, la zona azul y la media están aquí abajo en los 47 centavos, lo que nos hace bastante alcistas en este momento. También pueden ver acá en el 2.8, en el 88.3%, estamos justamente en medio entre el 78% y el 88.3%. Sí, esta vela, si esta vela ya está acá, hay una probabilidad muy alta de venir a la zona del 2.8, que es también donde tenemos nuestra línea meme nosotros. Cuando encuentro confluencias así, muy normalmente actúan como imán para el precio y por lo que creemos que el siguiente movimiento se vaya a dar a los 2.7 tranquilamente una vez más. Dicho eso, en la mensual, la volatilidad también está apuntando para arriba y continúa con fuerza, está en 82.48%. Y recuerden, le gusta hacer extremos y doble extremo. Entonces, todavía tiene bastante camino para correr a la alza, la volatilidad en la mensual. Ahora vamos acercándonos un poco más. La de 2 semanas tuvimos un setup de Hamas Express, que es el que tiene los misiles hipersónicos. Esto fue periodos de volatilidad nula. Para si alguien está entrando y es la primera vez que estás viendo, ¿qué estamos viendo? Esto se llama BBWP. Esto es un indicador de volatilidad. Es gratuito, lo puedes encontrar aquí en tus indicadores. BBWP nos dice cuál es la volatilidad en la temporalidad que estamos viendo del bien que estemos viendo. En este caso, XRP. Y cuando ves estas líneas azules, quiere decir que tuvimos nula volatilidad. Y cada una de estas es una sesión. Cada barrita es una sesión. Entonces, esta es 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sesiones de nula volatilidad en la de 2 semanas, por lo que son 22 semanas sin volatilidad y después son doble extremo de nula volatilidad, 1, 2, 3, 4, que son 8 semanas y luego tuviste esta explosión, que es básicamente el setup de Hamas y eso nos dio un movimiento de XRP de 550% a la alza. Una absoluta locura. Viéndolo con los ojos acá, estamos por encima del 88.3%, el 95% en la de 2 semanas está en 3.5%, muy probablemente vaya a bajar y aquí te puedes encontrar con el 3.3%, que digo el $3.3 de precio, que es el máximo histórico. Aquí es donde probablemente lo vayamos a encontrar. La volatilidad tal cual el setup de Hamas y ahora estamos por debajo del promedio. En esta temporalidad está la volatilidad cansada. Ahora, por acá, y se tiene que resetear. Estamos en extremos en este momento de volatilidad en la semanal. Lo vemos y ya vemos a la volatilidad caer por debajo del promedio también. Ok, entendido. Estamos en la zona del 78.6%. Nos gustaría, porque hemos sido rechazados ya una vez, nos gustaría poder hacer que esto suba. Nos gustaría tener un cierre arriba de 2.53. Si somos bruscamente alcistas, queremos ver a XRP cerrar arriba del 2.53, 2.54. Eso nos daría un viaje gratis a máximos históricos, básicamente. De ahí nos acercamos un poco más y viendo la de 3 días, estamos justamente en la zona azul. Estamos viendo cómo la volatilidad está reseteando, está cayendo fuertemente y rápido. Esto no quiere decir nada más que está reseteando rápidamente. Esperemos que nos dé un cero pronto y de nuevo es la de 3 días. Vamos a regresar por acá arriba. Podemos ver que estamos justamente por encima de la media en los 200. No, estamos por abajo. Estamos cotizando en $2.41. La media está en 2.42. Definitivamente queremos ver esta vela cerrar por encima del promedio para que nos pueda dar un viaje a los 2.66. Eso sería bastante alcista. El cierre por debajo de la media nos llevaría a la zona de los $2.2 más o menos, 2.3. Aquí ya se empiezan a ajustar los rangos. Y también cuando te acercas, es lo que habíamos dicho en la volatilidad. Déjame ver si era la de 2 días o la diaria. En la de 2 días es donde tenemos la volatilidad intentando expandir por encima del promedio. Y esto, de nuevo, para llegar a un doble extremo, le gusta estar en extremos a XRP. Así que vamos a estar atentos. Pongan un ojo, un extra ojo en este tipo del setup de la de 2 días. Estamos justamente con una vela topera por acá, pero esta vela, para confirmar el tope, tendrías que cerrar por abajo de 2.39. Esta vela, y además tener varias confirmaciones, honestamente. Por ahora, nos encantaría ver a XRP poder cerrar por encima del 246 para poder dar continuación al movimiento. Y en la diaria, estamos justamente en esta zona, puedes ver el 88.3% coincidiendo con nuestra línea meme. Definitivamente, uy, ¿sabes qué? La diaria te la pone lo más fácil posible. ¿Quieres un cierre arriba de 241? 241 te va a llevar a los 273 y probablemente de ahí a darte una vuelta a visitar altos históricos. En la diaria, la volatilidad está expandiendo junto con el precio, lo pueden ver por acá, y le gusta estar en extremos, por lo que va a ir una vez más a extremos, y eso nos llevaría a esta zona de donde están los altos que acabamos de ver. Ahora, para mí esto es bastante importante en la tabla de XRP, si la quieren ver y simplificar un poco, es básicamente estos niveles. Aguantar, tener tu promedio del 9, el 21, definitivamente cerrar por encima del 9, aguantar, estás creando esta serie de nuevos mínimos más altos, lo puedes ver por acá. ¿Quieres aguantar esta tendencia? Definitivamente, no te espantes si llega el precio por acá. Eso no tendría nada de malo. Lo malo sería si barremos esta zona del 1.98, después nos llevamos los 1.96 entre los pantalones y después el 1.90. Eso, para que veas, sería bastante malo. Empezaríamos a romper estructura alcista diaria. Pero por ahora, XRP es bastante sencillo. Es básicamente esto. Y lo único que estamos buscando por acá, es más, yo me atrevería a poner una línea meme por acá, en los 2.44, es simplemente tener cierres por encima de eso. Se ve muy alcista, hay ¿cómo se dice? En temporalidades más bajas como la de 4 horas, hay un setup de jamás que se está calentando delicioso, lo pueden ver con nula volatilidad. Una vez que esto se active, estén pendientes, vean para qué lado lo va a hacer, pero todo pinta alcista, de acuerdo a los indicadores de momentum y volatilidad que nos enseñó Farhan, todo pinta alcista de a madre y momentum empujando también a la alza, el precio en la zona del control bajista saliendo en las temporalidades importantes, etcétera. O sea, bastante bien. Y ahí lo tienen, eso es XRP. Alex, what do you got? Chainlink?
Yeah, I got Chainlink.
Linky, it's Stinky Linky. That motherfucker.
Stinky Linky action time.
I got a stinky linky to show you.
What is that?
About to go on my Louis C.K. What do you call it? Arc.
Arc? No, thank you. You know what? No, thank you. We're good. We're very good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, perfect. You guys can see it, right? My internet's been a little slow today.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to view Link BTC first. The 2-week, I think, is important because, yes, even on this downside move, which was pretty aggressive, I mean, we had a 20% drop in a 2-week candle. I think something to note here is this last lower high. This was a pretty big deal, in my opinion, this pump up, because yes, we rejected off the EMA 100 on the 2-week, and that is an area we've been talking about to just be mindful of. But we had a trend shift here, which is nice, especially since, you know, if we want Link to go up and really break out, then we're going to really need Link BTC to act accordingly. And that's first to at least take the, you know, this is like a macro trend or like higher time frame, 2-week time frame essentially down from up, which has now occurred. I now really want to see essentially us first reclaiming the 2418. That's going to be the current resistance that we're dealing with now. And just like back testing that level, you can just simply see, I mean, that's a pretty big decision point for Chainlink, Link BTC. Anytime we reclaim that and hold it, it often leads to big moves up. And when we lose it, we often go to the bottom of the range. And even the most recent example, which was right here, once we got that 2-week close under it, we simply rejected it once, twice, and then had that breakdown. I really want to see, if this rejection is going to take us down, simply to just see that EMA 21, my apologies, on the 2-week hold, that corresponding right around this, meme line I drew, showing, just like another little range, would make sense to me. If we throw the HBDR on 2, you can also see that the top of the 382 is right around there. So it getting tested would make a lot of sense, especially since we know that 2-week EMA 9 has been just keeping us down solidly. It wasn't until in November where we actually broke back above it, stayed above it, and then now we're just trekking along. We've tapped it once, so now that's why I want to see at least the EMA 21 get tapped. And that's currently right around just the meme line and the 382, right around the 2259 level. That to me would be a logical place to at least look for some kind of pullback and then a bottom, because if the EMA 21 can hold at this point and we hold that as support, and especially based on the 38.2%, then what we could see is a bigger breakout on Link BTC. Especially when you lose the blue zone, that's generally when you do get those big moves up. You can see the most recent example is right around in October, and Link BTC from that point went up 53%. So, it's a very big spot that we're at on Link BTC on the 2-week. And that's why I wanted to just first start off with the 2-week, because I think it's a good time frame. It kind of eliminates the chop aspect of altcoins, but then also kind of puts it in a good view. You can see the rejection here at the almost 2.4 level. If this does take us down, you're really not going to want to see or expect a much deeper pullback than what we have. You kind of want this to be the next higher low, which makes it's a logical spot right on that 2-week EMA 9. And any pullback, you just simply want to see this resistance get flipped into support, possibly a wick to that EMA 21. And then we can start really gauging again the top of this channel here, which is right around that EMA 100 on the 2-week. And this 2-week EMA 100, yes, it hasn't really been populated for that long, but it still has been working pretty nicely with the chart. We see big moves up occur once this does based on it. This one led to, just out of my own curiosity, an 89% bounce from that point. And that was really actually done like 6 weeks. And then, we also see though that when we are under it, we do act, it does act as resistance, and it does kind of reject away from it. So that's going to be a big spot for Link BTC, is that EMA 100. And we would have already been gauging that area just simply because of where, the top of the meme line is. We know this support is where usually big moves happen on Link BTC. But the fact that, that EMA 100 right there is just makes it easier for us. The 5-day is interesting too, because, we see here that price is getting caught right around that 5-day EMA 100. But what I want to gauge here is what I was saying on the 2-week. That 5-day EMA 9 is right around where that 2-week EMA 21 is, right around 228. That would make a lot of sense again, just to see some kind of deeper pullback. If maybe we wick to that point, I wouldn't be concerned, and it's because we lost it here. We rejected away from it. And then we got caught on that EMA 21. We sprung up, and now we're catching resistance at the EMA 21. It would make sense for bulls to kind of let bears get their control, have a little downside move. They get kind of bears will get happy and excited about this possibly turning into some lower high, and we simply will backtest that EMA 9, something that just recently got reclaimed. So we wanted to at least prove to us that this is support. That's good confluence with that weekly EMA 21 and the top of the 38.2% on the 2-week. Let's do the daily now. Yeah, and so the daily, this is a nice candle down. That's why my bias first is, expect some kind of pullback. But again, we see that EMA 34 is right around that meme line. So, you know, this zone here keeps giving us good confluence on, yes, Chainlink, Link BTC most likely does get a pullback, and it already is occurring. But I really wouldn't expect much more downside other than, you know, max case scenario like the 228. But generally, we would be gauging, right, if we're rejecting the top of the range, going to the bottom, which is right around that daily EMA 34. If we start losing that daily EMA 34, you know, then we can really start being more cautious at that, seeing kind of where we're consolidating on the more higher time frames. But losing that daily EMA 34 really would be the first point for bears on why this could actually then end up going much slower than the areas I'm talking about. But until then, and as long as we are back above that, you know, especially the 2-3 level, Link BTC is looking nothing more than just grinding out some kind of higher low, especially on the higher time frames here. Let me just see. Maybe I need to look. So it's a daily. I'm curious to see how the quarterly actually closed on this. So, you know, the quarterly, we had a nice move up on Link BTC into December. We caught major resistance, not only at the top of this, not only at the top, basically at this range here, my meme line, but then also most importantly that the quarterly 9 caught us down. We rejected it, and then really it wasn't really that big of a closure in terms of like big differences in the chart. There is one thing though, which we did see the EMA 9 cross under the 21. You know, this hasn't really occurred ever on the chart, and this doesn't necessarily mean that it's just going to dump, but it's generally then just solidifying why we really want to gauge that EMA 9 on the quarterly more closely, and really, you know, for bulls essentially to really break this up, that's really going to need to get reclaimed. And that's why I like using that 2.8 level as kind of my gauge, because if we start getting those daily closures, weekly closures, and then monthly closures back above 2.8, that could just bleed into more of the macro time frame, like the quarterly, and we can get that good quarterly closure back above the EMA 9. On the monthly too, I mean, again, it really didn't do much in terms of like difference. We had a nice move up, but you know, it just led to a wick high rejection here. Wow, that's kind of crazy. We ended up from the top of that wick going back down to over 30% on that move, leaving us back below the EMA 9 on the monthly. And this is a good point on why it's really important with these alts, especially, to not front run things. I'm sure at this point, people were very convinced when Link BTC was on the monthly putting in a girthy green dildo back above the EMA 34. I'm sure they did not think that the EMA 9 definitely wouldn't have gotten reclaimed, but you know, that's just the predatory nature of like alts in crypto, especially. And we can see, yeah, the EMA 9 on the monthly still held down. And this has been basically holding us down since February of 2024. So again, it just ties into why we really want to start seeing, you know, that monthly 9 get reclaimed. So then that way it can bleed into the quarterly 9. And then ideally that can act as support. But until then, I mean, when you get these wick high rejections, it just makes it so much harder for bulls, essentially. That's how I interpret it, to actually get back up here, break this high, shift that monthly trend up, and then actually like back test it and hold the 2.8 level. But you know, never say never, I guess. Let me see. Lastly, yeah. So I mean, yeah, Link BTC isn't looking the worst. It's just, you know, more at resistance, and that's why you should be more watching for some kind of pullback here. Let's see what Link USDT looks like now. Nice. So yeah, we see here that the weekly 9 perfectly held. Again, just ties into why we kind of want to see, especially on Link BTC, the lows hold. That way, you know, bulls can actually get the argument for a higher low being grinded out here. You know, trend shift, major rejection. People are kind of getting scared, longing Link, only for us to form that higher low right around the EMA 9. I'm seeing the same thing on the tether pairing. You know, big move up, broke the downtrend. Now it looks like we're grinding out some kind of higher low around here. You know, and it makes sense. We'd want to see that $19 really hold. It's a pretty important level on Link. We know that, you know, once it reclaims that $19, it generally likes to break out from that point. And whenever we lose it, it tends to be pretty detrimental, and we end up dumping pretty aggressively, actually. Just on this closure, this was a 19% candle down. And then simply put, you see on this rally up, broke out, this caught us down, and then it ended up, rejecting price pretty heavily, leading to over a 30% move. And then even here, we see we SFP'd it, we reclaimed it, but then quickly SFP'd it to the downside. And then this bearish retest here was, in hindsight, a very obvious short, leading to, let's see, wow, yeah, 57% move down, which is pretty insane. So now what do we have? Well, we have that level being caught as supported by the EMA9 on the weekly. And this is why, you're really going to want to see this low kind of hold. If price ends up reverting, rejecting around here, coming back down, you're really going to run the risk of this range here breaking, especially with this low. And I'm sure, a lot of stops are set around here because, you're not really testing the 2-week EMA9 too often, even with this chart. This still took multiple weeks before we tapped it. Then we broke out. It took, almost a month here before hitting it, and then tapped it again. So, bulls are really going to want to see that weekly 2-week EMA9 hold, and then slingshot us to that $26.50 level. That's going to be the big break for Link. I do think if we can reclaim and get back above $26.47 while basing off the EMA9, then we could be reenacting what possibly happened in 2021, where the 2-week EMA9 held us. As soon as we broke and held that $26.50 level as support, that's what really slingshotted us up all the way up to $52. Because I'm curious, that $52 to $60 came up last time I was looking at Chainlink. I think it was the 2 months. Let me take a look real fast. 2 months. Yeah, so we see here the 2-month median. We wanted it really to get reclaimed for a possible move back up to the, at least $53. We see it actually moved up. So it just solidifies why that $26.50 region is going to be really massive for bulls to actually reclaim, because we were hoping it was going to move down, especially with that 2-month EMA9 getting reclaimed. Something that was holding us down, lost it, held us down, broke out. So we were hoping this was going to move down, but it did not. So it's now back at the top of this range at $26.50, which honestly is a nice view, because it just kind of ties into why that is a pretty major zone anyways. And once we do reclaim this zone, I don't see why we wouldn't go back up to the top of this channel, an area that we haven't tested since 2021. And that happens to lie right at the top of the 38.2%. And this last rejection wick high, essentially, that led us into the bear market. And then you see, once you break out and you actually, sustain a breakout in the 2-month, you get pretty insane levels on Chainlink. So yeah, that's interesting to see. Let's see how that monthly, because the monthly, remember, we were talking about how volatility on the monthly was looking interesting to me. It just seems like it wanted to go up. And now what we see is that monthly median has fully came down. It's now matching right around where support is, around $18.19. And we're just moving along. You can see we have, just like on Bitcoin on that monthly, a pretty nasty evening star here on the Bitcoin monthly chart. So it ties into what I was saying on Bitcoin, where you're really going to want to start seeing bulls actually step in, which they are, and actually sustain a move into this month, breaking all of these reversal candles that I'm sure a lot of people, took shorts around, and you simply just have your stop at the top of this wick. I do believe that once, if we do break this last monthly high, that could be the move that really does squeeze us back up to that $52, if not even a little higher, right around the 78.6%, which would have to occur with, we see the top of the 38.2% right around that 2650. So this zone here is going to be really important. And why I keep reiterating that is because we don't want to FOMO into Link right now. This could easily give us a trade, if let's say the 2-week really does start reclaiming that $26.50 and getting back above that. That could just bleed into the monthly, and then the 2-week actually doing that. fulfilling the prophecy here of this just expanding, and then we get, you know, that target met close to $53, if not closer to 60, would be pretty massive. Let me see. You know, the 2-month and the monthly didn't, you know, really brew anything too bullish in terms of like the bull team and the bull side. But we see here that the quarterly, you know, actually isn't looking too bad. You know, we see that, you know, the support right at $19 has been used for quite a while now. I mean, taking this off, we can see, you know, it held for 3, 6, 9 months after it got reclaimed and held pretty nicely until, let me see, actually, this, no, yeah, didn't even lose it. Here, held it, and then we fell through. Wasn't until we had that quarterly close where we really got that big move down, where, you know, on the quarterly candle here, we went down 62.9%. On the full length of it, I mean, we went down 71%, which is pretty insane. And then rallied back up, got the quarterly bearish retest, and then even on that bearish retest from that point, we went down 58%. But now what we see is we're back above that zone on the quarterly. We even slightly front ran it just by a few cents here and got the expansion. You know, this is now a 19% candle, and it just, you know, opened. So this is a really good sign for bulls that they actually were able to reclaim a massive level that this chart's been having issues getting back above or even holding. So now you're really just going to want that $19 zone to hold on Chainlink for, you know, more upside and potentially actually retesting this wick high, or at the very least this one right around the $37 mark. This quarterly though, it's looking good, and just like I was saying, it looks just like what happened with Bitcoin on the 2-month, where, you know, we were just under this level for so long, under it. You know, we were never able to reclaim it or hold it, and then, you know, once we actually got a closure back above that 69K, it just led to a nice spring. So I'm still bullish on Chainlink. I still think it's going to do really well in 2025. But I definitely wouldn't be getting bullish up here. You know, that especially with what we know with Link BTC, where it's right at resistance, definitely could roll over, get a tiny pullback. It just doesn't seem logical to start looking for longs here. But rather when, you know, that 2-week EMA 9, EMA 21 here gets tested, that would be more logical to me. And then you can at least, you know, gauge this low for kind of an invalidation, because, you know, bulls are really going to grind out some higher low here and really not invalidate this last 2-week candle, which was very nice. You know, even if it dumps all the way back to that EMA 9 on the 2-week, you would be pushing it, but it still wouldn't invalidate it. But personally, I'm just still going to be on the camp that, we go to the daily, wants to load, that Chainlink most likely will just keep holding its EMA 34, continue to consolidate and form almost like a bull flag here. You know, really the bigger, deeper pullback might occur when we hit that $26.43. But even we see here with price going up, volatility is still contracting. You know, I want to see actually if we have any kind of volatility set up here on any time frame. Perfect backtest to the EMA 9 after, you know, it was held down. Just a logical point. That's why, you know, I really wouldn't want to see this candle turn red, because then you really run the risk of this getting lost. That's why personally, yeah, I mean, you kind of just are expecting the move to $26.47, which, you know, could just tie into Link BTC, getting that really shallow bounce, you know, really shallow dip to a really quick bounce. Because you know, I'm on the expectation here that, yeah, we should see at least $26 coming up soon. You know, and then at that point we can gauge, okay, how big of a rejection, you know, does the weekly just fulfill the weekly trend thesis where, you know, this just breaks out and then we actually break with the higher high break. That's kind of the idea behind it. So if you're bullish, you're really going to want $26.47, 40, call it $26.50 to get reclaimed. If it can and hold, then it's playing exactly into just the idea of the weekly trend being up, which is consistent higher lows, leading to that higher high break, taking us closer to that actual $52 mark, which, this is a major gap up. But really, I do believe that, it's not too unreasonable, especially with how good, Chainlink is looking overall, and especially with its Link BTC pair. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I think I hit everything. It's really not looking too bad, though. And this month is going to be a really big decision for crypto as a whole, especially altcoins like Chainlink, because, if bears really do rally up, hit the $26 level, and then reject us, it's just not going to look good. This will start really looking like, this was just another retest of it to rejection. And then, you really have to gauge that $18, $19 mark, or essentially the December low. The best scenario for bulls is, just breaking out, reclaiming the $26, consolidating there. That way, then we can just really start resetting the daily volatility, and then giving us that volatility setup to actually, kind of justify a move from $26 to $52. Because really, the only nice setup I see on BBWP right now is, it's just on the monthly. And this is like some of the lowest volatility reads we've ever had. While it's just in that posturing, like it just wants to bust up. Now it's above its moving average as well. And keep in mind, it's been under it since it got lost in April of 2024. So that's pretty long time. Curious, this one, once it got back its monthly moving average, this actually led to, let's see, before I go, a 194%. And then this one was to the downside, and this one led us to 67%. So, pretty massive moves the last two times BBWP got back above its monthly moving average. And technically, this is to the upside. I mean, bulls have control. Bears are really just clinging on to like candlesticks and the way the candles are looking, and, local tops and shooting stars. But those are very easy to reverse, and those often just act as liquidity traps for shorts, where they just fuel us higher. And, once this high breaks, I would not be surprised if we just saw a massive move. And I don't find it a coincidence that the 38.2% is, again, right around that last monthly wick high, which, again, was the same exact scenario that I saw in Bitcoin. Plus, we are back above the monthly median here. So, again, any pullback, you're just essentially going to want this low to hold. Right around $18, $19, my apologies. And that's why I don't really want to see a deep pullback. And I really don't want this monthly candle to turn red, because if it turns red, then you're really going to run the risk of this breaking down and losing the median. But, we've been under the median since May of 2024. So that's multiple months of it being under it, even rejected it here. So the fact that we've opened up above it and still held the monthly above $19, it's a pretty good sign. I really wouldn't be surprised into this week if we do test $26. But from that point, then really watch carefully to see if we reclaim that or reject it.
Not bad. That was very, 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 very good. And I think for something that's a little bit more complicated than everything else we've seen, because Link is kind of playing both sides more. That was very good to know where to stop and where not to, and where to be bullish. So thank you, sir. Thank you. That's basically 4 hours. Is there anything else you guys like to say, look at, anything before I'll let you go?
I'm gonna say happy Three Kings Day to all my Mexican friends.
That's right. Happy Dia de Reyes para todos. All righty. Well, thank you so much, boys. I appreciate you.
Right,
have a good one. Vale. Y aquí, Vini, no. Tengo aquí al buen Vini. Me está intentando pedir que lo acaricie en vez de que ponga atención a esto. Ok. Tenemos Chainlink acá. Lo primero que quiero analizar rápidamente son la de 3 meses, para poder ver, como siempre, qué es lo que está pasando. Podemos ver que claramente Chainlink está formando estructura alcista a corto plazo en esta zona después de tener estos bajos. Este fue el bajo más bajo que había hecho y de ahí ha estado constantemente haciendo bajos más altos, bajos más altos, bajos más altos, bajos más altos. Pero acá tuvimos una falla de poder romper estos altos. Ahora, esto es una zona bastante importante para el precio de Chainlink. En la trimestral tenemos un setup de volatilidad bastante potente que está justamente dándose acá, donde viene de la volatilidad más baja que hemos visto en Chainlink, en el 41%, y le gusta estar en extremos, que es bastante bueno. Esto está expandiendo en esta vela verde. Esto nos dice que va a haber continuación a largo plazo bastante bien, sobre todo si ponemos el HPDR, vamos a ver exactamente cuál es la parte alta del canal. Lo mejor de todo esto es que estamos literalmente por encima de la media. No habíamos estado por encima de la media desde... Oh, le acabo de agarrar las bolas a Vini por accidente, lo siento. No habíamos estado arriba de la media desde este entonces, desde el 2020, y después la perdimos, espérame, acá, la perdimos en octubre del 2021 y desde entonces hemos estado por debajo. Esta es la primera vez que en una vela trimestral estamos por encima de la media y lo pueden ver acá después de este rechazo. ¿Qué es lo que estamos buscando? Básicamente aguantar esta media. Definitivamente queremos poner, espérame, Vini, queremos poner nuestra línea en la arena, básicamente si somos alcistas, en no perder los 19.39. Si perdemos los 19.39, vamos a ir a la parte baja del canal. Primero, apoyándonos en los 16. Si perdemos los 16, esto se cocinó y nos vamos a la parte baja en los $12. Pero esas son solamente posibilidades. De nuevo, en la mensual también estamos por encima de la media. No habíamos estado por encima de la media en un rato, lo habíamos perdido desde mayo y ahora pudimos testear una vez más e ir una vez más acá a buscar la media del canal. La parte alta de la zona azul está en 26.75, que es una zona para nosotros bastante importante para poder mantener y vencer en cierres para poder ver a Chainlink poder empezar a subir. También al mismo tiempo estás viendo que tienes expansión en volatilidad, no viene el periodo más bajo, pero es de esas pocas ocasiones donde te lo está dando y está justamente acá en esta vela verde, lo que nos dice que también va a haber continuación alcista en altas temporalidades. Eso se ve bastante bien y nos da un objetivo primero de los 26.89, después 29 y hasta $38. Acercándonos un poco más en la de 2 semanas, podemos ver que la volatilidad nos dio este golpe a la alza y ahora está en 83%. ¿Se está cansando algo? Vamos a ver si se da la vuelta o no, pero esto todavía nos dice que debería de darnos mínimo el momentum para llegar a los $28.28. Eso sería bastante bueno para el precio de LinkedIn. Ahora nos acercamos a la semanal. La semanal la volatilidad ya está contrayendo. Ok, no nos dice nada. Veamos si va a haber un setup. Y estamos justo acá. ¿Qué haces, Vini? Estamos justamente entre el 50% y la parte alta de la zona azul. Queremos definitivamente aguantar este cierre para esta semana e ir a buscar esta zona una vez más. Por ahí tienes confluencia en los $27. Que sería el primer objetivo que tendríamos. Y el 78.6% que coincide con nuestra línea meme en los 33, definitivamente daría continuación a esto. En la diaria se ve más claro. En la diaria tienes la media aquí abajo en los 20. Estamos justamente en la zona del 61.8%. Queremos cerrar esto en 5 horas, 22 minutos por encima de los 23.49. Logrando eso, tendríamos un viaje o una posibilidad de un viaje gratuito a los 25 y de ahí a los $27. Si les quito el HPDR solamente para enseñarles, y además, lo escondo, lo voy a poner acá y ponerlo por acá. No tenemos nada en volatilidad en la diaria, pero estamos justamente aguantándonos en el promedio del 21 y el 9 y están a punto de cambiar de posición, lo que sería bastante bueno y nos daría posibilidad de continuación a la alza. ¿Qué es lo que no queremos? Definitivamente no queremos perder el promedio del 9 y el 21 que están en los 22.9, pero si llegamos a perder eso, queremos que aguante este bajo. Porque si no aguanta el mínimo de los 21.63, te vas a ir tranquilo a los 19 y de los 19 podrías ir a visitar esta zona de los 18. Pero aquí está el secreto de la salsa. Con que aguantemos esto y empecemos a tener cierres por encima, eso nos empezaría a dar sentimiento alcista. Ahora, importante notar que arriba esta línea ha sido una resistencia bastante cabrona y ahora la convertimos en soporte. Esto deberíamos de no romper, porque cuando aguantamos encima de esta línea en el 21.68, tenemos movimientos expansivos acelerados a la alza y eso nos podría llevar a nuestro siguiente objetivo. Así que si somos alcistas en Link, no queremos perder la zona primero de los 22.9. De ahí no queremos definitivamente perder el promedio del 55 en los 21.65 y ya de ahí se vería mal. Lo que queremos empezar a hacer es cerrar por encima del 26.18. Cierres por encima del 26.18 no solamente nos van a dar un viaje a los 29, pero a poder retestear nuevamente esta zona del 33.25 y de ahí ir a buscar objetivos más altos. Así que ahí lo tienen, ahí tienen Chainlink, ahí tienen absolutamente todo. Muchísimas gracias a todos por vernos, una vez más, por estar aquí con el casino del tío Salo, Alex y Farhan para todos ustedes. Espero que hayamos llevado algo a casa que nos dé valor. Les mandamos un fuerte abrazo. Gracias a todos por estar acá. Pórtense bien. Y este jueves hay clase. Para todos ustedes que son miembros de Elite Trading Academy, tenemos el jueves clase para ustedes exclusiva. Así que ya saben, no lo verán acá y vamos a repasar todos sus fundamentales y sus técnicas para asegurarnos que estén a tope con todo lo que estén haciendo en trading. Les mandamos un abrazote. Pórtense bien y gracias. Oigan, muchas